the ducal palace of House Cassius, where our protagonist and her in-laws are having lunch. Ethel silently have her lunch while her brother-in-law said to her sister-in-law, Rihanna, you should eat the carrots too. Rihanna replied, no, I hate carrots. Her husband Leandro said to Rihanna, if you want to be healthy, you shouldn't be picky about food. Rihanna said, I said no Leandro, I won't die even if I don't eat carrots. Lohim said, shouldn't carrots be your favorite food, little bunny? Suddenly Duke shouts, enough. No one can force my daughter to eat anything she hates. He said in cold tone, how dare they serve food Rihanna dislikes? I shall dismiss everyone who had a hand in preparing this meal. Hearing this, the maid standing nearby flinched. Rihanna stood shouting, no, you can't, Dad. She went close to Duke and holds his hand. Tears drops from her eyes while she said, you're not the kind of person who'd fire people for such a trifling matter, are you? Duke clears his throat saying, fine. Since you say so, I will let it go this one time. Lohim asked, how are you going to survive in this world, being so naive, little bunny? Leandro said, Rihanna, you're too nice to a fault. They were having these talks while completely ignoring that there was someone else sitting beside them, our protagonist Ethel. She thinks, ugh, are they for real? Is that how people treat a 20-year-old grown-up? Leandro finally noticed her. He asked, is there something wrong, Ethel? Wiping her mouth she said, no, I just don't have any appetite. That's all. Meanwhile she thinks, because you people made me completely lose my appetite. Lohim said to Rihanna, I'll give you a present if you eat all the carrots on your plate. Leandro pats her too saying, I'll give you one too. Rihanna asked, you're going to give me presents when it's not even a special day? Suddenly Lohim realized something. He whispers to Leandro, brother, did you prepare a present for your wife? Otherwise she'll sulk. Ethel asked, indeed? Do you have a present for me? Meanwhile she thinks, Lohim, that's so not like you to think of me. Leandro sighed. Then he said, what are you talking about? We don't even have any special occasion today. Hearing this Ethel said, today's our wedding anniversary. She thinks we got married exactly 2 years ago today. Leandro gets surprised repeating, wedding anniversary. Lohim said, how can you forget your wedding anniversary? What a terrible husband, Rihanna said, my word. You're right. It is today. Duke said, you're married, son? You should pay attention to your family. Ethel shivers thinking, goodness, did hell freeze? What's up with these people today? Leandro said, it's my fault that I forgot our wedding anniversary, but... She thinks, but? Did he just say, but when even a sincere apology wouldn't be enough? He asked, is there a rule that only the husband should give a present to the wife on their wedding anniversary, and not vice versa? Ethel thinks, when I first found myself transmigrated to this fictional world, I thought I was lucky. I thought I was given a second chance at life after I met my end in a traffic accident. I awoke in the novel I enjoyed reading titled The Returner's Rosy Second Life. In the story, Rihanna is an orphan who dies after leading a miserable life. Lohim, second son of House Cassius. Leandro, first son of House Cassius. And Duke Cassius, nobleman of high rank and family head. After regressing, Rihanna is adopted into the ducal family, and occupies all the love and attention of her father and 2 brothers. I particularly loved how the Duke's family cherish her like the apple of their eyes. As a reader, while Rihanna is the protagonist of this novel, I'm Ethel Wallace, wife to her eldest brother, Leandro, a minor character, who rarely appears in the story and hardly receives any attention. I'm okay with that because my favorite character is Leandro, and I get to be his wife. His blonde hair sparkles more brilliant than the sunlight, and his blue eyes hold a breadth deeper than any lake. He is perfect in every aspect, from his capabilities to his appearance, just like his father, Lord Leandro, the heir to House Cassius. Although our marriage is of convenience, who cares? I'm his wife. How lucky I am to be a member of the ducal family in this story. For me, it's as good as getting a VIP seat to enjoy the novel. Or so I thought. Ethel felt rage. Leandro asked, Ethel? Marriage is of 2 people. Since you also failed to prepare my present, she grits thinking, my mistake when I read the novel is that I never thought about how Ethel would feel. Not only did he abandon me once we got to our honeymoon destination, but he also had his aide send me a gift for our first wedding anniversary. She recalled saying to him, it's my birthday, Todd, but he interrupts saying, I'm busy. One day she asked, would you like to go for a stroll W-? He replied, I've just got back from a walk with Rihanna. She calls him, but he went to his sister saying, Rihanna is looking for me. She thinks, I never thought I'd be overshadowed by Rihanna and treated as if I'm invisible like this. Back to dining table, Leandro said, I don't think you can blame me for. He was about to complete his words, but she throws a box on his face. Everyone around gets shocked. He asked, what? She shouts, I want a divorce. She turns saying, let's proceed with the divorce process as soon as possible. Dazed, Leandro asked, divorce? Duke asked her, Ethel, are you serious about what you just said? Rihanna shocked said Ethel. Luhaim shakes his brother while also being shocked. She left saying, farewell, everyone. Maid said, my lady. She went up to her room. While grabbing some jewels she thinks, I should take these with me. I can't just leave empty-handed, can I? She heard footsteps and thinks, how quick he is to follow me. He opened the door shouting, Ethel. He asked, are you serious about getting a divorce? She replied while packing her things, yes, I'm very serious. He asked, but why, what's the reason? He tries to block her way. She said, step aside. I'm leaving. He said, it's my fault that I forgot our anniversary. But you can't do this just because. She interrupts asking, do you think I'm doing this just because of that? He said, I admit that we're not very close as a married couple, but isn't some level of detachment common in arranged marriages? She said, this is not simply about us not being close enough. He asked, then what other reason could there be? He suddenly noticed something. He said, looking at a dress, Ethel, look at that. He uncovers the dress saying, you remember when you got married to me in this dress, don't you? Try to recall that happy moment. But she interrupts saying, it wasn't a happy moment. He gets shocked and asked, pardon? She said coldly, I wasn't happy then. Also, both that dress and our wedding don't trigger happy memories. A few months prior to the wedding, in the 5th drawing room of the ducal palace, Ethel came wearing a plain white dress. He glanced at her saying, that suits you well. The designer asked, what would you like to try on next, my lady? She thinks, I can't believe they had an entire boutique relocated to their house. This is something House Wallace can't even dream of. Then she recalled her family saying, you must get married to Lord Cassius no matter what. Where and when else can you meet a man of such superior status? Will my life get easier if my sister becomes Duchess Cassius? She shrugs at thoughts thinking, I get why they made such a fuss. I won't have to see such despicable people once I get married though, so whatever. They say she's the best designer in the empire, and indeed, every single item is a work of art. The door opens, and Rihanna enters saying, Leandro. He asked her, Rihanna, what are you doing here? She replied, I was curious to see how my future sister-in-law would look in a wedding dress. Ethel smiled hearing this. She thinks seeing them, when I read this novel, I thought that I'd like to have such a loving family. And after the wedding, I'm going to be one of them. Raina went close to her saying, how beautiful. She asked, can I try one of the dresses? Ethel asked, pardon? She replied, if you don't mind, that is. She said, seeing you so beautiful in a wedding dress makes me want to try one too. Ethel thinks she's so cute. It's only natural, of course. I also yearn to wear a wedding dress at her age. Thinking this, she nods. Leandro came and asked, what? Why would you want to try on a wedding dress? Rihanna pouts asking, maybe I shouldn't, should I? Ethel asked the designer, isn't it all right? Letting her just try it on wouldn't hurt, right? She nods. Leandro said, suit yourself. Rihanna shouts, yay, I'm so excited. While Rihanna was changing, Luhaim and their dad came. Luhaim asked, brother, is Rihanna here? Duke said, we thought we'd have tea with Rihanna. The servants told us she'd be here. Luhaim said, you're here too, Lady Wallace? Ethel thinks, of course I'm here, you jerk. It's my dress-fitting day. Rihanna came dressed up in a beautiful dress. Dad, Luhaim, I didn't know you're both here too. Everyone gets shocked seeing her. She asked, what do you think? Isn't this dress so gorgeous? Luhaim asked, why are you wearing that thing? She replied, because I want to. Duke said, it feels like only yesterday when my daughter said she'd marry me. Rihanna said, that was a long, long time ago, Dad. Luhaim said, what are you saying, Father? It's me that she promised to marry. Ethel thinks, were they this silly in the novel too? Leandro moves forward shouting, what are you two talking about? Ethel thinks, yes, at least one person seems to. But she gets jolted after he said, Rihanna promised she'd marry me. She thinks, hey, aren't you supposed to marry me? Rihanna said, that's enough. Dad, brothers, stop making a fuss over something I said when I was young. Just sit down and take a look at the other dresses I'll try on. Then she tries some other dress and showed them. After that, while leaving, Duke asked, shall we go have tea now? Rihanna said, okay, Dad. Luhaim said, good luck, brother. She thinks they finally left. I'm so exhausted. He picks a dress and asked, what do you think of this one? He said, you looked very beautiful in this. Coming back to present, he said, that can't be true. But when you tried this on, I definitely thought. She interrupts shouting, when did I wear that? He said, back then. She said coldly, the person who wore that dress wasn't me. It was your sister, he asked. It was Rihanna. He shouts, how could I make such a foolish mistake? You must be mistaken. She asked, do you think I'm an idiot who can't even tell what I tried on? He said confidently, I can tell that much too. Are you making things up to put the blame on me? She felt rage. What? She asked, are you insinuating that I'm lying? He turns his face saying, that's not what I mean. But, although you and Rihanna look quite alike, how could I possibly confuse you with her? She glares thinking, we look alike. She imagined Rihanna and herself. How? Where? When? He gasped, if that were to be true. Why did you not say anything back then? You must have been very offended. She thinks, are you saying that I shouldn't fuss about it after all this time? She asked, what did I say at dinner this evening? He asked, why are you asking me that all of a sudden? She said, indulge me. He ponders for a moment. Then he said, you said you had no appetite. She asked, and? He said, you asked me if I prepared a present for you, and then you said we should get divorced. She asked, and what happened before that conversation? He imagined the scene saying, well, before that, She said, that's exactly where I stand in this house. She turns leaving saying, that's my situation in this house since I became your wife. What do you think it was like before we got married? He said, Ethel. She asked while leaving, how could I dare point out Lord Cassius' mistake? She recalled the moment when he suggested dress. You looked very beautiful in this. She thinks, looking at him recommend the one Rihanna tried on. I thought to myself, why would the Cassius family alienate me? Let's not rush things. It just takes time to get close with them. However, over time, I knew that there was no room for me in their hearts. Leandro said, I admit that my family has an unusually close bond. She said, that's exactly why I'm leaving. I'm the odd one out in this family. He taps her shoulder shouting, Ethel. She slaps his hand. She said, I'll prepare our divorce papers and send them to you so that you only need to sign them. He follows her saying, wait, Ethel. Please listen to me. She said, I've heard enough of your crap. He asked, what did you just say? She turns saying, get lost, you turd. The servants and Duke's family was standing downstairs. While passed by them while Lohame asked, Ethel, how did your talk go? Rihanna asked, what did Leandro say? Duke said, Ethel, expressing your anger like this won't help. She opens the door and left. She walks away with her suitcase while Duke's family stood seeing her. She went to market. She booked a room in a hotel and while laying on bed she said, this feels awesome. I was a bit worried that I couldn't bring much of my stuff with me, but now, I couldn't feel more at home. Let's not think about trivial matters for now. Getting divorced is the priority. At Duke's palace, Lohame asked Leandro, brother, are you really going to just let this be? He asked, what are you talking about? Lohame said, I'm talking about your wife, of course. He replied, I'm sure she'll come back before long. Lohame asked, don't you remember how she left after dropping such an announcement? Are you so shocked that you lost your wits? He said, my wife is a wise woman. She might have demanded a divorce in a fit of anger, but I'm sure she's regaining her senses by now. Lohame asked, isn't that just your wishful thinking? He said, you're well aware that we didn't marry for love in the first place. Lohame said, oh ho, so you're implying that she'll come back for the sake of her house. But what if she never returns? Leandro stopped. He said, she will? Lohame asked, what makes you so sure? Leandro said, Rihanna told me that this marriage won't end. He asked, did she? Well, if she said so. She's been providing useful information to our family at critical moments, and catches people off guard with her occasional eloquent speech. After all, what she said has surprisingly proven to be true up to this point. Leandro said, yes, that's why I believe there won't be a divorce. The next day, the Cassius Ducal Palace. Butler knocked Leandro's room. Pardon me, my lord, are you awake? Her ladyship has. Before he can complete his words, Leandro opens the door and rushed outside. Butler shouts, stopping him, my lord. He thinks, I knew it. She's finally back. He opens the door shouting, Ethel. He gets shocked seeing a postman. The postman asked, Lord, Leandro Cassius? Leandro asked, who are you? He showed some papers saying, I'm here to deliver this on behalf of Lady Ethel Wallace. This is to be delivered to you. Leandro takes the package. He opens it just to find out a divorce agreement. In front of the city hall of Royan, the capital of the Astaroth Empire, Leandro, holding the papers, walks around in wait. Suddenly he gasps seeing Ethel coming towards him. He shouts, Ethel. She said, oh my. I see you arrived first. He asked, shouting, "What were you thinking to send me this?" She replied, "Of course I sent it to divorce you. Why else would I?" He asked, "Divorce? Are you truly going to part ways with me?" She asked, "Then does this look like a ruse to you?" He said, "How could you do this to me? What a fool I am to have been concerned about you." She asked, "Who asked you to be concerned about me?" "Well, at least you admitted that you're a fool." He shouts in anger, "Ethel!" But she shouts back, "What?" He flinched by her response. She thinks, "You didn't think that I can also yell like you, did you?" He clears his throat and said, "I've been thinking a lot about us since you left. You were right. Since we got married, I'd been such a..." She interrupts him saying, "That talk can wait until after we submit our divorce papers." He asked, "Can't you see I'm trying to apologize to you?" "How can you?" She said furiously, "I'm not at all curious about how sorry you are." She asked, "Do I have to forgive you if you apologize to me? Do I have to smile as if nothing ever happened?" She thinks, how dare he act like a victim? She moves forward saying, "It seems nothing can save our relationship, so why don't we just end it? I can't bear the sight of you anymore." He shouts, "Ethel." He tears the divorce papers. She turns towards him. He said, well, the document is damaged. So why don't we go somewhere and talk about?" She interrupts, pulling a copy of documents saying, "Don't worry." She showed him saying, "I prepared a copy, just in case." He ripped that too. She gives him one more, "Here's another." He ripped it too. She gave one more, another. He ripped that too. She again gave him one more saying, "Actually, I brought 4 extra copies." He ripped that too. She gave him one more saying, "Oh wait, there's one more." He gets furious and felt defeated. He grabs that copy from her. He said, "Even if you bring me thousands of copies, my answer will still be no." She gets furious too. She said, "Fine. Then let's go to court." He asked, "Do you believe you can win a case against me, a Cassius?" She shouts in a loud voice, "Absolutely. So let's get divorced. Leandro Cassius." The crowd gathered and murmurs, "Huh? Cassius? Come to think of it, that gentleman looks like Duke Cassius' son." He hides his face, damn it. Meanwhile she thinks, it's a matter of time now that the rumors about the bad relationship between Lord Cassius and his wife will spread. With this, I've achieved my primary goal by calling out Leandro out to the city hall. She beamed thinking, even if this divorce case turns into mudslinging, I have nothing to lose. She passed him whispering, "Let's see who'll get tired and give in first." Murmurs filled the air as she left. While walking at a distance she thinks, is a lawsuit truly the only answer? Ethel's imagination. Did your husband have an affair? No. Did he use violence? No. Did he use abusive language? Not at all. Then did he gamble? He didn't. Does he have a child out of wedlock? Not that I know of. Did he refuse to pay your living costs for a certain number of months? He allocates about 5,000 gold every month for my living expenses and provides me a separate personal allowance. She thinks, feeling anxious. I don't want to admit it, but Leandro is an excellent husband on the surface. She thinks, if I have to, there's only one thing I can cite as reasonable grounds for divorce, but that issue is so sensitive I can't discuss it with a lawyer yet. Meanwhile footsteps approached. Leandro came and grabs her shoulder. "Ethel," he said, "perhaps you misunderstood as I'm not very good at expressing my emotions, but my feelings for you have not changed one bit. Although one thing led to another, and things have come to this." She thinks, "Ugh, he's so persistent." She said, "Am I supposed to believe that? You have no feelings for me whatsoever." He said, "That's not true. I married you because I liked you, and I don't want for us to divorce because I still do. There were so many other noble families I could have chosen from, but you were the only woman I considered to be my wife." She asked, "Do you think I don't know why you chose House Wallace, the abandoned mine in Anala?" Hearing this he gets shocked. She said, "Rihanna wanted that mine, which was owned by House Wallace, and that's why you married me." The mine was one of House Wallace's few valuable properties. Excavating magic stones used to be a lucrative business, but as its profitability decreased, the mine grounded to a halt. Who would have known that that white elephant would turn into a golden goose in the future? She thinks, that be me, who read this novel, and Rihanna, a regressor of this world. He shocked asked, "How?" She stood confident. He trembles asking, "How do you know that?" She said, "You confessed to me while you were drunk." He asked, "Did I?" She replied, "Yes." "Can't you even remember saying that?" Meanwhile she thinks, "Of course, you can't remember because it's a lie. Have we even talked face to face before this?" She said, "One night, you told me that Rihanna wanted the Anala mines so much that you decided to marry me." He shouts, "Absolutely not." he said with a trembling voice. Well, I might have approached your family because of the mine at first, but when I laid my eyes on you, I immediately felt an attraction. After that, my feelings for you gradually grew. She asked, then why did your attitude change after our wedding? Why have you neglected me so far? He said, it's because. She turned saying, stop telling such a blatant lie. Do you think I'm a fool? He stopped her, grabbing her arm. Ethel, he said, please give me a chance to explain myself. She asked, why? Do you need to persuade me more so I'd hand over the Anala mine? He released her arm. After that she thinks, being furious, I will never allow them to take the mine away from me. Fortunately, the Anala mine is still registered under my name. She recalled saying to her father, Father, the best way for us to reduce our tax obligation is for you to give me the mine now, and then I can transfer it to my husband later. In the future, new technologies might enable us to dig deeper, so we have no reason to hurry and hand it to them now, don't we? Her father said, yes, of course. She thinks, the mine still has a pretty large reserve of magic stone. The problem is that they're buried so deep underground that excavating them now would be a losing business. Whenever my husband occasionally brought up the mine, I'd delay the name transfer time and time again on one pretext or another. She recalled herself saying, the documents have yet to arrive from my parents. I think the documents must have gone missing in an accident during delivery. Apparently, House Wallace's tax accountant fell ill from overwork. She thinks, House Cassius will certainly try to take the mine by any means, claiming that they deserve it because House Wallace promised it as dowry. Once the ownership is transferred, it'd take several times more effort to take it back. She clenched, thinking, that's why I need to wrap up this divorce as soon as possible. Wanderer's Forest just outside the capital city. While going through the forest she thinks, it must be somewhere around here. Suddenly a crow came and she gasped, eek! She heard something and followed the sound. She peeked from behind a tree. A man was standing there holding sword. She thinks, that man is the novel's antagonist, and Riena's archenemy, Marquis Terence Freeheiden. She gasped seeing him. She thinks, I knew he'd be here, but I didn't expect to find him right away. What should I do? Terence is already a high-ranking noble, but he has even bigger secrets about his real identity which will earn him a position of great power soon. She thinks it may sound lame, but I should just say that I'm lost. After all, when will I ever run into him again? A chance like this doesn't come every day. I can't spend the rest of my life enduring their neglectful treatment in that house. She grits her teeth. She jolted when she heard, who goes there? Terence said, if you want to live, reveal yourself. I know you're hiding behind me with bated breath. She covers her ears with her hands. A sound came like a blast. She peeked to see, but gets shocked seeing the tree being in two parts. An assassin came holding a dagger. He moves towards Terence saying, damn it, die. But Terence dogged easily. He hits him behind. The assassin fell down on the ground. He said, how boring. How come the assassin's skills get poorer and poorer? Meanwhile Ethel's heartbeat gets fast. She sat silent behind the tree. She thinks while trembling, I don't think today is the day. It's too bad, but maybe next time. Suddenly she slipped. She was about to fall from height. But someone caught her. She thinks, what is this firm touch? Terence was holding her in his arms. She looked at him closely. She thinks, whoa, he's really handsome up close. Oh no, what am I thinking? He puts her down while she thinks, I saw him leave. When did he come back? She bowed and said, thank you. You saved my life. Hearing this he smiled. He asked, what is a young lady like yourself doing in these deep woods? She said, oh, I took the wrong path. He asked, wrong path? If you don't mind me asking, for what purpose did you enter the Wanderer's Forest? She said, I was just strolling. He said, the trail is a long way away from here, and it's in the opposite direction. She thinks, I knew it'd be a lame excuse. He asked, are you saying you got lost while taking a walk alone in the Wanderer's Forest? She think, that sounds like nonsense even to me. He stares at her while she said, what I mean to say is, I'm here to run a personal errand, and that's why I was walking in the woods when I got lost. He asked, could you tell me what your personal errand is about? She said, that's a personal matter, so I'm afraid I can't. He draws his sword out saying, that's odd. The only people you can find around here are wandering mercenaries. She gets shocked and thinks, he's suspecting me. He's totally suspecting me. If need be, I should use my self-defense amulet. He asked, did you know who you'd find here today? She said, I'll tell you. She said, it is very personal, but since you saved my life, the least I can do is to share it with my savior. She said, actually, I came to find a mercenary who will guard I mean, escort me. I intend to divorce my husband, but he threatened that he'd never let me go. So I left home, but I'm afraid he'll find me sooner or later. He said, "Oh, I see." He asked, "You seem like a noble lady. Why not hire a private knight?" She, faking tears, replied, "It's embarrassing to say, but I can't afford such service." He stares at her for a moment. Then he bowed and said, "My apologies. I didn't mean to pry into your personal affairs." She said, "Not at all. I was the one who suddenly appeared and inconvenienced you." Meanwhile, she thinks it worked. She turns, saying, "Well then, I should take my..." Ouch. Why is there a fallen tree here? She remembered why the tree is fallen. She said, "This must be the one you broke while you were training. You must have amazing skills, sir." He said, "I do. I'm not one to brag, but I am a pretty good swordsman, if I do say so myself. I'm sure you won't regret it if you hire me as your escort." She asked, "Pardon? I don't understand." He leans towards, saying, "Hire me as your bodyguard." She, shocked, asked, "Why you, as my bodyguard?" He beamed, saying, "I'm a wandering mercenary too. As it happens, I'm looking for someone to hire me." She clenched the papers in her hand, thinking, "Bullshit. You're a marquis," she said. "As I already mentioned, I'm not in a very good financial position right now." He said, "I won't charge you more than my basic rate." She asked, "I'm not sure if I could treat a person with such great skills like that." He said, "Please don't worry. Receiving my base rate helps plenty when business is quiet." Then she said, "But still, I think I'd be more comfortable with a female guard." He said, "That won't be a problem since we won't be staying in the same room." She said, "But..." Then she had an idea and thinks, "Wait, isn't this my chance? This could be a golden opportunity to form a close enough relationship to make a deal over that information." She said, "Well, if you say so." She bowed and said, "I'll be in your care." He bowed back too and said, "Likewise. Please call me T." She thinks, "That is how I came to hire the novel character with a dark past as my bodyguard." She gulped, thinking, "I made a good decision, right?" While walking, she said, "I'm Ethel. I'm still using my husband's surname, but since I'm divorcing him soon, I'm just Ethel Wallace." Meanwhile, she thinks, "The Cassius name can only make him wary of me. Since Terence has been completely removed from high society up to this point, I'm sure he's not familiar with my maiden surname." He said, "I'm T. I'm from a humble background, so I don't have a surname." She thinks, he didn't even bat an eye when he just lied to me. She glanced at him. She smiled, thinking, who cares when he's so awfully handsome? If the novel had illustrations of its characters, I would have loved Terence. He asked, "If you are living apart from your husband, where are you staying now?" She said, "I'm staying at a hotel. I plan on getting a house in the near future." He asked, "Then I should stay there too. Is the next room available?" She said, "Most probably." "Oh, your lodging expenses are on me. Also, you can order room service once a week. I'm an advocate of employee welfare." He said, "You don't have to. I can pay myself." She asked, "Do you have the money for that?" He said, "Ahem, then I'll accept them gratefully." She laughed, thinking, "You shouldn't forget you're acting as a poor mercenary, Marquis." She thinks, "The Terence I know from the novel can't stand a debt, for better or worse. I'll get this back with interest someday." After that, they went to hotel. He looked around in his room. He said, "What a strange woman." The embarrassed look on her face was quite intriguing, and when she tried to escape, I found myself wanting to stop her. Still, it's very unlike me to voluntarily go through trouble like this. That aside, I should send word. He starts writing a letter, thinking, my absence is to be prolonged for an indefinite period. Since I decided to do it, let's do it perfectly. At night she was asleep in her room, and Terence was sleeping on his chair holding his sword. Next day, they went to a shop. The shopkeeper said, "Welcome. Are you looking for anything specific?" She said, "I'd like to buy some medicinal tea herbs." Terence moves aside holding his forehead. She thinks, it seems he's having a headache. She thinks, Marquis Freeheiden's greatest weakness is that he suffers from chronic headaches. It's the result of a curse placed upon the imperial ancestors in exchange for receiving some of the goddess's power. Since then, the imperial family members have been able to freely manipulate mana, but at the cost of suffering severe migraines. The greater the power, the more intense the pain. The two sons of the current emperor, who are said to have the greatest power of all time, aren't free from the curse either. Crown Prince Mikhail, the male lead of the novel, and Riena's lover. Terence, the illegitimate child the emperor had out of wedlock. Terence's mother was Marquis Mola's daughter, and the emperor's first fiancée. One day, the emperor's older brother suddenly died, and the emperor, who was then the second prince, was proclaimed heir to the throne. However, Lady Molo then vanished into thin air. Frustrated by the scandalous rumors about his fiancée having eloped with a coachman, the Crown Prince married Duke Velvet's daughter instead. Afterward, House Molo declined, and Lady Molo was almost forgotten from memory, when suddenly, she reappeared with a baby boy in her arms. She claimed that she was kidnapped and had been confined under the wicked scheme of Duke Velvet and the former emperor. However, without real evidence, no one dared to call for an explanation from the former emperor and the powerful House Velvet. In the end, Lady Molo couldn't recover her position, and the child she had been pregnant with while being kidnapped also failed to be recognized as the blood of the imperial family. That child could have grown up to be the crown prince as the next emperor, but instead, he's a victim of a conspiracy and lost everything he rightfully deserved. That child is none other than Terence Freeheiden. Terence can't call the emperor his father, and he is constantly exposed to Duke Velvet's assassination attempts. She thinks being teary. I feel bad for him. He seems like a nice guy. In the story, his acute migraine is one of the main reasons why Terence goes astray. As the pain becomes unbearable, he resorts to using a powerful pain relief drug known as the Devil's Claw. In the same vein, Crown Prince Mikhail suffers from the same malady, but he has Rihanna. According to the book, Rihanna has the goddess's blessing, which allows her to neutralize the curse. The writer's favoritism is way too absurd. One son becomes the crown prince and has a lover blessed by the goddess, while the other becomes an addict after living with discrimination, all because he's a bastard child. Overwhelmed by despair and the adverse drug effects, Terence loses himself and turns toward the dark side. And eventually the shopkeeper said, "Here you are." Ethel replied, "Thank you." She thinks Terence will be fine once he drinks the healing tea. The healing tea is a medicine which calms down the agonizing headaches of the imperial family. It's the future Rihanna who first invents its formula. But what does it matter if I steal it? She thinks, my plan was to get a divorce with Terence's help and then flee the empire before the fight over the throne becomes fierce. He was having headache, but suddenly became calm seeing Ethel. Ethel thinks, but after getting to know him a bit more, I feel sorry for him. She asked, shall we move on to the next place? While leaving she thinks, he won't lapse into drug addiction as long as he drinks the healing tea. While walking he asked, what do you need the holy water for? She replied, I need it to make something. Meanwhile she thinks, it's an ingredient for your tea. She said, I didn't know there was a temple in the Wanderer's Forest. He said, that's why this one is far less crowded than the Grand Temple. Suddenly he felt something. He grabs her hand and runs this way. Confused she asked, TT. After hiding her behind a tree he draws his sword. She asked, what are you doing? Tell me what's going. He shush her, shh. He grabs her and her heartbeat gets fast. She thinks, he's too close. Meanwhile a lady came wearing a cloak. Seeing her Ethel thinks Tara. Did she follow us? He clenched his sword and rushed towards her. She saw him and pulls her dagger out. He attacked her but she managed to block it using her dagger. Then her dagger fell from her hand. He grabs her arm. He asked, why did you follow us? She shouts, I didn't. She shouts to Ethel, my lady. He asked Ethel, do you know this woman? Ethel said, yes, she's a maid of my husband's house. Then he released her. The maid said, I happened to see you and wanted to speak to you about something. Ethel said, if that were true, you wouldn't have followed us in secret. She asked, did Rihanna send you to tail us? Tara said, pardon? And no, not at all. Why would Lady Rihanna? Ethel asked, do you think I don't know, Tara? How many times have you followed me and used my weaknesses to lure me into traps? Tara Spello, she's Rihanna's dog. Tara's parents were given a small patch of farmland as a reward for their dedication to their master's family. However, it all turns out to be a deceptive ploy by their master, and so, Tara's family lost their livelihoods overnight, and Tara lost her entire family in the aftermath. After a relentless pursuit, she successfully exacted her revenge, and was executed for the murder of a nobleman. This happens in Rihanna's first life. After regressing, Rihanna went to find Tara, who was nothing but a stranger in her first life, and offered to help Tara who had yet to accomplish her revenge. Ethel thinks, Rihanna saw that she has tenacity and outstanding skills to gather intel. He puts his sword on her neck asking Ethel, how would you like me to proceed, my lady? Ethel said, could you excuse us for a moment? He said, very well. I will stay just out of earshot. Then Ethel comes close to Tara. She whispers, cooperate with me, and I'll tell you the whereabouts of your enemy, Viscount Chillian. Tara gets shocked and asked, how did you dash? Ethel said, it's a secret just like what Rihanna said. She asked, you've had questions, right? Rihanna's not a god. How does she know everything? Meanwhile, she thinks, it's natural because Rihanna doesn't reveal that she's a regressor until the story is about to end. Tara said, it doesn't matter even if you have the same ability as Lady Rihanna. She is my savior, and you're not. Ethel asked, is that so? Then why hasn't she told you where Shillian is yet? Tara starts trembling, saying, she said she would, when it's the right time. Ethel asked, the right time? Why wait? You must know she's lying too. Tara interrupts her, shouting, shut up. Ethel asked, don't you want to know what information I have? She thinks, to Tara, revenge comes before loyalty. Tara asked, what do you want from me? Hearing this, Ethel thinks, gotcha. Ethel said, when you return home, tell Rihanna what I'm going to tell you. Then Ethel tells her something. After that, Tara asked, is that really all? Ethel asked, it's not too much, is it? Tara asked, very well. When can I get the information? Ethel said, in 2 months. After that, Tara left. Ethel thinks, phew, there's something scary about her. Actually, Rihanna isn't intentionally holding back the information. She can't tell Tara because she doesn't have the information. All she knows about Shillian is his fake identity she read about in a newspaper before she regressed. Unlike her, I know where he is right now because I read the novel from cover to cover. Transmigration is better than regression in this aspect. She thinks, I'm sorry, Tara, but I need you to suspect Rihanna until I successfully get divorced. Suddenly Terrence came and asked, how did the talk go? She gets jolted. He said, you seem to have completely forgotten about me. She asked, did you hear our conversation? He said, of course not. I obey my employer's commands. She said, I should treat my trusty bodyguard to a late lunch, then shall we return to our hotel? At Duke's Palace, Tara said, I'm back, my lady. Rihanna said, welcome back, Tara. Did you do as I asked? Tara replied, yes. Rihanna said to other maids, you girls can take your leave now. But the maids said, my lady, please try on one more. What do you think of this? No. This one will look better on you. Rihanna, making an innocent face, said, please, I really need to talk with Tara alone. You'll excuse us, won't you? The maids left them alone. Rihanna said to Tara, I'm thankful for their attention, but it's too much at times. Meanwhile, Tara thinks, then you can tell them to stop. Rihanna asked, so? How's Ethel? Tara said, I have nothing much to report. She took a walk and went shopping. Meanwhile, she thinks, that's not a lie at least. Rihanna asked, how did she look? Tara replied, she looked, well, she laughed a lot. Tara in her mind said, only in front of him though. Rihanna shouts, beaming, I knew it. She has no intention of getting a divorce. Leandro said that Ethel knows about the Anala mine, so I was a bit concerned. Tara clasped her hands. Reina continues, all things considered, she's just throwing a momentary fit, isn't she? Oh, Leandro. Even if he was drunk, he should have watched his tongue. He should realize how much Ethel loves him. Now, what gift should I prepare to make her feel better? Tara asked, will you leave the mine under Lady Ethel's name then? While seeing a design book, she replied, I think I will. Its value won't increase until later on. Oh my, this one will be just perfect on me. Tara asked, would you like me to continue watching her? She said, there's no need. Return to your original post. After that, Tara left the room. At a cafe, Ethel asked him, how does it taste? Terence replied, it's not bad. She asked, and? He said, it tastes a little like medicine, but it sure has a good scent. She asked, is that all? You've been drinking it for 3 days now. He asked, should there be something more? She said, of course. Perhaps you feel more refreshed, you sleep better at night, or you feel more energetic. Is there no such change? He said, now that you mention it, I do think I feel it. She felt disappointed. He said, it's herbal tea, my lady, not medicine. The effects won't be as great as you might expect. She clenched her hand thinking, but it's not just any herbal tea. Ugh, if I asked him about his headache, he'd definitely notice that I know about his true identity. Could I have mistaken the ratio of the ingredients? She thinks seeing him asleep, awesome. Great timing. She closed her eyes and started focusing him. After that, she opened her eyes again. She thinks, I knew I got the ratio right. I have an ability called mental reading. It enables me to conjure up the pages of a returner's rosy second life and read them in my mind whenever and wherever I want. As convenient as this ability is, it exhausts so much energy that I can use it no more than twice a day. Seeing him, she thinks, he was dozing off like that yesterday too. The previous day. She asked, is the hotel bed not comfortable enough for you? He said, I wouldn't know. I haven't used it properly. She felt disappointed thinking, I guess this hotel is too shabby for a nobleman like him. He wakes up and asked, my lady, He noticed her and asked, "You look tired all of a sudden." She flinched, saying, "And no. I mean, why yes, I'm tired. I'll go rest in my room. So why don't you go out for some fresh air?" He said, "I'm afraid I can't do that. I'm your bodyguard. My place should be by your side." Saying this, he moves his hand towards her. She holds his hand, saying, "Thank you." She thinks, he's such a decent guy indeed. On their way, some said, seeing Terence, "Marquis?" He glares at him, and he stopped. Then Terence turns towards Ethel, saying, "My fellow mercenary seems to have something to tell me." She said, "Sure, you can take your time. I'll head in first." Meanwhile she thinks, fellow mercenary, my foot. It's obvious that he's a servant of a noble house. Suddenly they heard clip-clops of horse. A carriage came and stopped in front of them. Seeing the carriage, Ethel thinks, that's the carriage of House Cassius. The carriage's door opens and someone came out. It was Rihanna. She dashed towards Ethel and hugs her, saying, "Ethel." After that they went inside a hotel. Rihanna and Ethel sat in front of each other having tea. Tara glanced at Ethel and she nods back at Tara. Ethel glanced at Terence standing behind. She thinks, what a relief. Rihanna doesn't seem to notice that tea is with me. Ethel then asked Rihanna, "What do you want from me?" Rihanna's guard shouts, "How uncivilized, Miss Ethel. Lady Rihanna came all the way here to see you." She thinks, so he doesn't even call me Lady Ethel now? That's very big of you, swordsman. Rihanna said, "Matisse, don't be so rude to Ethel." He said, "Biba, my lady." Rihanna said, "Apologize to her. This is an order." Matisse said, "Please forgive me, Miss Ethel." Rihanna said, "Lady Ethel." Ethel said, "Stop it. I'll no longer be your lady soon anyway. You too, Rihanna. Stop acting like we're sisters-in-law." Rihanna shouts, "How can you say that, Ethel?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she said, "I apologize on behalf of Leandro. Though everything began with the Analamine, I swear it's not the whole truth." Ethel moves her hand away. She sips her tea while Rihanna said, "I'm not sure how to put this, but I tend to have good instincts for things to happen. For example, a porcelain vase I bought at a flea market turned out to be a rare piece by a master craftsman, and the investment I made on a company just because I liked its name made huge returns." Ethel thinks, good instinct, my foot. You regressed? And that's how you know it all. Rihanna said, "I know it's hard to believe. Even my family thought I was playing a prank at first." Ethel thinks, the only person in the novel who believed her till the end was that simpleton Luhaim. Rihanna then tells, "I was traveling the Anala region one day. I was passing by the area of your family's mine and then I felt it. I thought, oh, this mine will be a big hit in the future. That's why Leandro visited your family to purchase it, and fell for you at first sight." Ethel thinks, Rihanna is a nice girl, but she can also lie without batting an eye if necessary. I liked her character in the novel because she didn't seem like a pushover, but Rihanna said, "Do you remember the day when you first visited our house? I've really liked you since then." Ethel asked, "Do you really like me just the way I am?" Rihanna beamed, "Of course." Ethel said, "Then you'll still like me even if I don't own the mine, don't you?" Rihanna asked, "Huh?" Ethel asked, "Can I go back home to the Cassius estate without the mine to my name? Actually, I've been feeling uncomfortable because of it. Now that you told me your true feelings, I'm relieved." Rihanna shouts, Wait, Ethel," she said, "if it was simply that reason that you wanted it, I think I should just give it back to my parents." Rihanna said, "But it's your dowry." Ethel said, "You said yourself just now that you like me. Do you not like me if I don't have it?" Rihanna replied, "And no, I didn't mean that." "Oh, right. What was I thinking? I completely forgot about the presents." Matisse, Tara. They complied, "Yes, my lady. They presents a lot of gifts." Rihanna said, "Please give me some time to think about the mine. I'm fine without it, but father might think differently. It concerns our family name too, so..." Ethel asked, "Since when did House Cassius care about such a thing?" While showing a gift, Rihanna said, "Ethel, would you like to open this?" Ethel opens it thinking, she clearly has no intention of accepting me without the mine. It was a necklace and Rihanna said, "I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I chose what I think is good." Ethel thinks, seeing it, it looks pretty pricey. Showering gifts is what Rihanna does best to win someone over. Rihanna asked, "Try them on? Don't you think they'll look great on you?" Ethel said, "No, I don't think they will." Rihanna nervously asked, "Right? Huh?" Ethel asked, "Can you open the other boxes for me too?" Then Rihanna showed different gifts, some jewels. Seeing them, Ethel said, "My word, these are way too brilliant for me." Then she showed some magic books. Ethel said, "I'm lacking in knowledge. I wouldn't know how to use these." Then she showed a muffler made out of fox wool. Ethel said, "It'd be an insult to the white fox if I were to wear this." Ethel thinks, although I expressed it in roundabout way, the conclusion remains the same. Ethel Wallace, who to them is worthless without the mine, will never accept such expensive gifts. Why can't she just come clean about wanting the mine and apologize, instead of trying to gloss over the truth with lame lies and gifts? All this after treating me like I was invisible too. Rihanna asked Ethel, you really are angry. Can't you please relieve your feelings for me? Ethel thinks, are you asking me to relieve my anger for you when you're the one who's making me angrier? Rihanna said, I understand that you're mad at Leandro. You don't have to be like this to me too. She asked Ethel, can't you just forget about my brother for a moment and return to being my loving sister-in-law? Ethel thinks, loving? Who? Me? Are you saying that I love you? Rihanna then said, don't worry about Leandro. I'll talk to him. Just please give him one more chance. Ethel shocked thinks, what the? She thinks, come to think of it. She imagined Rihanna saying, I apologize on behalf of Leandro. Ethel thinks, she only apologized on behalf of her brother, but she never apologized herself. Does she believe Leandro is the only person I hate? Does she truly believe that I like her? She thinks, it's true that I hate Leandro the most, but I don't like the rest of his family either. They all equally ignored me. Then Ethel asked her, why do you think I like you, Rihanna? Rihanna said, what do you mean, why? You have no reason to hate me. Ethel shocked thinks, was she always this self-conceited? Wait, could it be? Unlike her first life, Rihanna has been loved by everyone around her after she regressed. The only ones who hate her until the end of the story were the villains. That's how this world has revolved around her so far, and that's why she can't even fathom that anyone would hate her. Rihanna asked her, Ethel, what are you pondering about? She said, nothing. Rihanna smiled and said, think about my effort to please you, and at least take one of these gifts. Ethel thinks, what should I do? I can't afford to act based on my emotions and make an enemy out of her. Ugh, I have no more strength to think after using my mental reading ability and having to deal with her. Rihanna said, Ethel, you haven't answered me yet. Ethel released her hand forcefully from Rihanna's hand. Ethel said, let me be frank with you, Rihanna. She stood up saying, I don't like you, so please get out of my sight, and never show up before me again. Do you understand? Words didn't come out from Rihanna's mouth. Matisse and Tara get surprised. Ethel left saying, I'm sure you can see yourself out. Goodbye. Matisse steps towards her saying, how dare you speak to Lady Rihanna like that? I won't let. But Terence make him fall on ground, moving his foot in his way. He said smiling, oh, my apologies. I didn't see you there. Matisse shouts, who the hell are you? He replied, I'm a hotel guest just passing by. Ethel surprised thinks, how long has he been around me? Did he hear my conversation with Rihanna? Matisse draw his sword out shouting, how insolent. Terence was also ready but Rihanna interrupts. She shouts, stop. That's enough. Do you intend to tarnish the Cassius name? She turns saying to Matisse, I'm going home. Come. While Rihanna and Matisse was leaving, Tara turns and bowed. Terence asked Ethel, is everything all right? She said, I'm sorry you had to witness such an unsightly scene. He said, don't worry. They're saints compared to my family. She thinks, I can't deny that. He said, I didn't know your husband is a Cassius. She said, oh, I didn't mean to hide it. He said, if you're seeking a divorce against Cassius, it'd definitely be an uphill battle. She said, I know. I submitted our divorce papers, but I doubt it was even accepted properly. Then changing topic she asked, oh, did you talk with your colleague? He replied, yes, he just came to inform me that someone's waiting for me at home. She said, then you should hurry up and go home. He replied, he's a frequent visitor. He wouldn't mind if I'm a bit late. She thinks, who would visit Terence at home? And frequently at that. His servant came to report their arrival. Despite knowing how he'd be annoyed, then that guest must be someone of pretty high standing. She looked shocked thinking, wait, Terence's frequent visitor, his servants can't keep waiting. Could it be the Emperor? Thinking this, she starts pushing him saying, I think you should go right now. He said, no, I can stay a little longer. She said, I'm really fine, so off you go. Then he left. She thinks, if it really is the Emperor, he'll most likely bring up that subject to Terence. She thinks, the Emperor has finally decided to officially recognize his son as his blood, after neglecting him in the shadows for a long time. The estate of Marquis Freeheiden, previously the house of Marquis Molo. Terence reached there and seeing him, Butler shouts, Marquis, he said, you promised to come soon. While going inside, Terence asked, where's His Majesty? Butler replied, he's still waiting in the drawing room. Terence said, you should have sent him back instead of keeping him waiting. Butler asked. How could I when he insisted he should see you, my lord? My lord, don't you need to change before? Terence enters the room saying, I don't have time for that. Emperor was sitting inside waiting for him. He bowed and said, Greetings, your majesty. Dominic the 23rd Emperor of the Astaroth Empire said, I thought I had to wait forever. Terence kneeled saying, I apologize for keeping you waiting. If only you had sent word in advance. Emperor said, Never you mind. We don't need such formalities between us. Then Terence sat on sofa in front of him. Emperor asked, There's nothing wrong with enjoying your youth outside, but isn't it about time you settled down? And what slovenly clothes you're wearing. He clenched thinking, these were gifted from her. He recalled Ethel saying, Don't worry about the money, just pick whatever you like. How the employee is dressed represents the employer's image too. Being so greedless, how are you going to survive in this rough world? You should take advantage of a chance like this. He thinks, she's just so irresistibly kind. Noticing him, Emperor asked, Terence? He asked, What else can I do, except for going out and seeing the world? Then the Emperor chuckled and said, Well, you'll be very busy soon once you begin to learn the tasks of a ruler. Hearing this he asked, being confused, Pardon? Emperor said, Terence, my son, I intend to register your name in the Imperial Family Registry. Terence said, I need some time to think. Emperor asked, What do you need to think about? He thinks, It'd be a lie if I said I've never imagined becoming an Imperial Prince. Well, now that House Velvet is eclipsed by House Cassius, perhaps the timing couldn't be better. Besides, the Crown Prince lost the Empress's favor because of his relationship with Rihanna, an orphan. Emperor asked, Do you truly not want power? He remains silent. He thinks, Not really, but I do wonder how the Empress, who's been constantly sending me assassins, will respond to this. I'd also like to see the look on Mikhail's face, who's been taking everything he enjoys for granted since he was born. Emperor asked, Power provides you many great things. Isn't there anything you truly desire? He thinks, Something I desire so much that makes me want to become an imperial prince. He clenched his fist thinking, What am I thinking? Once I say yes, my life will be entirely different than what it has been until now. It's a choice I can't step back from, nor take back. Then he said, I accept the position of imperial prince. Emperor beamed and asked, So you do have something you desire? He said, Yes, I'd like to help someone out of trouble. Emperor asked, Help someone? Who is it? He said, Why don't we just leave it at that for now? Emperor said, How insipid. Then he asked, Speaking of which, Your Majesty, I recently heard a very interesting story. At Duke's palace, he asked Leandro, How in the world did you handle things? He said, I'm sorry. Duke said, The Emperor will certainly use this as an excuse to demand something from me. Imperial Central Court, a few days ago. Leandro bribed court officials to destroy the divorce papers. Emperor asked Duke, Bribing a court official to destroy a divorce application. Your son must love his wife immensely. Duke said, I am at fault, Your Majesty. Emperor said, You know this is clearly an illicit act, but I shall keep it undisclosed for you. Duke said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Back to present, Duke asked, What are you going to do now? Since they accepted your documents, your divorce will be handled in court soon. Duke slams on table shouting, It'll be a matter of time before they know it's you. Leandro said, I won't let the divorce trial happen. I'll talk to Ethel and change her mind before the court date. Duke said, If you could, things wouldn't have come this far in the first place. He said, Trust me, father, I can handle this. Duke said, I shouldn't have spoiled you. Leandro said, You've never treated me that way, father. Not even once. Suddenly Rihanna came shouting, Please stop. She said, Dad, that's enough. Please stop scolding him. Duke said, This doesn't concern you, dear. She said, I'm sure Leandro means the best. He said to her, Go outside, Rihanna. She shouts, Dad. She said, This is about our family, yet you tell me to go out. If you treat me like this. She shouts, I won't eat lunch. Duke and Leandro get shocked and asked, Rihanna, what nonsense are you saying? She said, I won't eat dinner either. Duke said, You'd damage your health. Leandro added, What if you all ill? Lillian came shouting, You can't do that, little bunny. You're too delicate. Rihanna said, I won't skip my meals, Dad, so please give Leandro another chance. Duke said, Rihanna. He said, Very well, see to it as you see fit, Leandro. She smiled, saying, Thank you, Dad. While walking in hallway, Rihanna asked to Leandro, Do you have a plan, Leandro? He replied, Not really. I think I'll just have to make a sincere apology. She said, Be careful. She seemed to be much angrier than we thought. She tells I actually went to see her yesterday. She said she hates me. I know she didn't mean it, but Lilium added, for her to tell such a lie, she really must hate you, Leandro. Leandro said, I'm sorry you had to hear that because of me, Rihanna. She said, I was shocked at first, but on second thought, I knew it couldn't be true. You know how close Ethel and I used to be. Lilium asked, still, Ethel went too far. She should have directed her anger only to Leandro. Why did she say such hurtful things to you? She said, if you really want to bring her back, you'll have to give it your best. Leandro said, I don't know what else to do, things just get worse and worse every time I see her. Then suddenly she had an idea and said, I have an idea. Meanwhile Ethel said, seeing the hotel garden, wow, I didn't know this hotel has such a beautiful garden. She asked Terence, it's a splendid day. How about having tea out here? He replied, very well. I shall prepare tea service. Ethel thinks while sitting on chair, I didn't expect our divorce application would be processed so soon. Maybe it's thanks to Terence. Whether it was him or not, I'll have him drink the healing tea as thanks. She heard some ladies saying, oh my, look at that. That's, seeing a carriage coming. Ethel thinks, is that House Cassius' carriage again? It was Leandro dressed well and holding a bouquet. He shouts, Ethel. Seeing him she thinks, El Leandro. She jolted seeing him, she thinks, what is he doing here? He steps towards her. He kneeled in front of her presenting the bouquet saying, it was all my fault, Ethel. Please give me another chance. She shocked thinks, what the? He said, please come back to me, my love. She said, stand up. He said, no, I'll stay on my knee like this until you forgive me. She said, please be quiet and stand up right now. He said, don't worry. My knee and pride won't hurt so easily as you think. She said, being angry, hey, stand up. She turns to leave saying, follow me. He said, Ethel. Then they went somewhere else. She asked him, why are you here? He said, why else? I came to beg for your forgiveness, of course. She said, I'm really surprised that you still have the courage to seek my forgiveness. He asked, why is that surprising? I made a mistake, so I'm trying to apologize and ask for forgiveness. She said, some apologies are better left unmade. She asked, you show up out of the blue and embarrass me in public. Is that how House Cassius apologizes to someone? He said, but if I hadn't done that, you wouldn't have agreed to meet me. She said, of course not. I have the right to refuse your visit. He, shocked and confused at the same moment, asked, we're married. What's so wrong about a husband seeing his own wife? She asked, being serious. Can you call the relationship we had as one of a married couple's? He remained silent. She asked, Leandro, you don't seriously believe you can be forgiven, do you? He said, I heard Rihanna explain to you that the story about the mine was a mix-up. She asked, oh, you mean the lie she told me about how you approached me because of the mine but fell in love at first sight? He said, that's not a lie. I was so embarrassed that I just failed to explain it properly to you the other day. She asked, is that so? Then why have you been so cold to me for the past 2 years? He said, that. I can't tell you. She turns to leave saying, then this conversation is over. You can go or stay here alone, it's up to you. He shouts, I can promise you this, Ethel. He presents the bouquet again saying, once you return home, I swear I'll fulfill my role as the best husband and treat you with utmost sincerity. She takes the bouquet. He seemed happy, but that happiness was not for more than few seconds. She throws that into trash saying, it's too late. He stood shocked. She said, stop wasting your energy and leave. He shouts, wait. Can't you please give me another chance? He grabs her wrist. She shouts, let go of me. He shouts, promise me first that you'll have a talk with me. She asked, I don't want to. Why would I? He asked, is having a conversation too much to ask? She shouts, I don't want to talk with. Suddenly Terence came and kicks him. He was dressed up in a waiter's dress and said, you shouldn't hold a lady against her will like that. He said to Ethel, I'm sorry for taking so long. The tea house owner was away, so I had to wait. Leandro gasped seeing him. Who are you? He noticed his sword and said, you don't seem like a waiter. Terence said, me? I'm someone who's good at brewing tea and even better in other things. Meanwhile Ethel thinks, Duke Cassius might recognize Terence, but I don't think Leandro would. Terence said, by other things, I mean something that's physically far more helpful to a lady than a bouquet of flowers. Ethel said, he's my bodyguard. Hearing this, Leandro gets shocked and asked, be bodyguard? She said, I hired him in case you'd approach me like this. Shocked, he asked, what kind of relationship do you two have? Terence asked her, does your ex-husband have a problem with his hearing? Leandro said, my hearing is just fine. He said, that aside, why am I her ex-husband? I'm still her husband. Terence said, oh, pardon me. Please let me correct myself. You're her ex-husband to be. Ethel said to him, stop teasing him. she said. Leandro, if you have something to say, quickly say it and leave. He points his finger towards Terence, saying, if he's your bodyguard, does that mean he's with you all the time? Ethel said, when I go out, yes. He starts trembling and said, how could you? Why, you're a married woman, she asked. Why is that a problem? His word shakes as he asked, what if people get the wrong impression? She asked, what do you mean by that? He said, well, what if they suspect your fidelity? Ethel smiled and said, aha, do you mean to ask if I'm having an affair? Don't you? He said. Ethel, I trust you, of course, but others might. She said, as long as you, my husband, trust me, I'm fine. I don't care what people say of me. He trembles, saying, your reputation could be tarnished. She asked, Leandro, your reputation has never been tarnished at all yet, has it? He gets shocked. What is that supposed to mean? Is Chris not with you? She snapped, eyes narrowing as she peered around. Leandro faltered back, asking, why are you suddenly looking for my aid? Then she questioned, is Chris a he or a she? He replied, Chris is a woman. The admission landed awkwardly between them. Don't tell me you're suspecting that he began. Ethel cut him off. On the contrary, I'm only trying to say that no one ever suspected you and Chris. He questioned, how is your case the same as mine? She replied flatly, I don't see any difference. He declared, the relationship I have with Chris is strictly business. Ethel's pride rose in a quick, defensively clipped retort, ours is strictly business too. T flinched and gulped, standing beside Ethel. Leonardo argued, we only work when we meet. She replied, likewise I do my work, and he does his as my bodyguard. Then she added, expression serious, I told you before that I hoped that you could even make a quarter of the time you spent with her for me. She recalled the scene where she asked him, could you stay with me just a little longer? But Leonardo refused. I'm tired. I just got back from work. How inconsiderate of you. There was a tremor of regret then, admitting fault. I was so exhausted back then that I made a mistake. She filled in, you were right. I'm not a considerate person, so let's split up. No, came a desperate plea. I said that I'd change, but the response was cold and steady. I don't believe you, he asked. What if I were to give up the mine? Ethel thought, would he really? He promised, if you wish, I'll swear to never mention the mine again until my last breath, on Riena's name. Ethel refused. You can't change my mind even if you give up Riena instead of the mine. Upon hearing that, he erupted. Give up Riena? Preposterous, how could you jest? She stopped him. That's enough. Nothing would change even if you were to give up the mine, or if you were to be reborn as my ideal man. I've completely fallen out of love with you. Leonardo fell on shock after hearing that. She continued, so please stop clinging on to me pathetically, and live your own life with your precious sister. The name Ethel floated out, small and wounded, from Leonardo's mouth. Then she turned to T and said, let's go, T. He offered his hand and said, yes, my lady. As she was leaving with T, Leonardo stands there watching her leave. Ethel thinks in her mind, I'm not even curious as to why he'd intend to give up the mine. I'll just go my own way. Ethel went to a cafe. While having tea, she was busy thinking, now that Leandro found out about Terence, it'll reach Riena's ears soon too. I hope he just regarded Terence as an ordinary bodyguard. She glanced across the room, then thinks, should I contact Tara and find out what the situation there is like? T was looking a little exhausted, so Ethel said, I'm sorry, my husband was a little too much, wasn't he? But T cut in, ex-husband. He smiled and said, you should call him your ex-husband. She replied, you're right, my ex-husband. The remorse was genuine. I'm afraid that his rude behavior upset you, and you were even suspected of having an affair with me. I apologize for that too. I'm really sorry, he replied. No, not at all. I wasn't offended one bit. She felt touched and thinks, T, for the most formidable antagonist of this story, isn't he just too nice? Then she said, Ben, can you tell me why you're so glum? The answer came with a shrug and a half-sob. Because, unlike what I thought, your ex-husband is too nice. His looks, I mean. She thought, what's Leandro's good looks got to do with Terence's mood? She said, is he really? I've never thought that way, she said inwardly. I can tell a white lie like this for someone who will cover my back. Really? Came the surprised reply. She winked and added, of course, in terms of looks, I think you're much better looking than Leandro. T blushed for a moment, then after clearing his throat he said, I think this tea is more effective than I thought. She thought, is he finally feeling the effects? So she asked, why do you say that? Do you feel something different now? A confession followed, low and intimate. I've had severe migraines since I was young, but I feel they've eased lately. If you don't mind, would you share the tea's recipe? The request brightened into hope. Ethel thought, delighted. Finally, the chance has come to exchange the recipe with my divorce. She clasped her hands and gets prepared. Of course, I can tell you, but would you do me a favor in exchange? She smiled as she said that. He nods. I'll do anything if it's within my ability, came the instant answer. She then said sincerely, Please help me to get a divorce. Marquis Freeheiden. How did you know? He demanded. She shrugged as if it were the most ordinary thing. I happened to hear your acquaintance from the other day address you as Marquis. He took a sigh. Jack, that careless bum. She offered a quick, apologetic smile. I'm sorry, Jack. Then T asked. However, I don't think he mentioned my name then, she replied. Although I haven't been actively engaged in society recently, I was once the future mistress of a prominent ducal house. I was introduced to several marquises at my wedding, and I memorized the portraits of those I hadn't met by heart. You're a young marquis I haven't met nor seen a portrait of, and who's in the capital when it's not the social season? I deduced you must either be based in the capital or not own your own fief, he filled in. There's only one person who meets all those conditions, and that person is Marquis Freeheiden. He tapped on table and asked incredulous. Even so, I can't believe you figured out who I am merely based on my servant's slip of the tongue. Actually, I was certain a moment ago, she replied coolly. He realized she'd been gauging his reaction the whole time. So you were gauging my reaction? She smiled it off. I think you need to step up your acting as a commoner. Very well, he decided, and reintroduced himself without the pretense. My name is Terence Freeheiden. I am a marquis though only in name, he asked. So you'd like to receive my support in getting a divorce in exchange for the tea recipe? She replied a little saddened. I wish I could give it to you for nothing, but I'm not in such a leisurely situation, he replied. The recipe belongs to you, so it's only natural you demand something in return. In her mind she said. Technically speaking, it belongs to Rihanna, he asked. So would you like my help, financially? She replied. No, my lord. What I want is your political cooperation. I need a countermeasure to prevent House Cassius from interfering with the trial, she thinks in her mind. Despite being major players in court, House Cassius has no qualms about using cheap and dirty tricks. Thanks to rumors about demonic ancestry, they've even earned the nickname the Devilish Ducal House. Are you certain they'll intervene? He asked. I am. I can bet all I have on that. She met his eyes squarely. He asked. I wonder what makes you think I have the power to stop House Cassius. I am but the Emperor's powerless, illegitimate child. She gave a knowing smile. Because I know from reading the novel that you'll soon be recognized as an imperial prince. Then she said. Well, you saw to it that my divorce application would be processed properly, he said. Didn't it cross your mind that it might have been a mere coincidence? Geez, he won't let a single thing pass, she muttered, half to herself. Then she turned softer. My application was accepted the very next day after you went home, man. I want to believe it wasn't just luck. It felt like I was fighting a giant enemy alone. Perhaps that's why I wished to believe I had someone on my side, too. She watched the conflict play across his face and felt the weight of it. She thought, did I rush it? What if he refuses? Then he stood up and offered. My lady, would you like to go on a walk with me? Pardon? She blinked. He extends his hand and said, It's a perfect day for a stroll. After walking for a while she asked, My lord, shall we go shopping? He teased. If you're going to buy me something. She threw her hands up. I won't. Especially now that I know you're much wealthier than I am. He teased. Oh, I'll pay you back for the money you spent on my gifts. You can't return gifts once you receive them. Her refusal came with a fond, teasing lilt. If you feel uncomfortable, why don't you buy me gifts this time? He agreed. Very well, you can choose anything you want. She smiled. I'll gladly accept your offer. I'm warning you, you might go bankrupt today. They went to many places. At a stall, her eyes scanned the displays indecisively. Which one should I pick? He said decisively. We'll take everything on display. Ethel quickly cut in. This one. I'll take this one. At another place she offered. Please have just one bite. He declined politely. I'm not fond of sweets. At the end tea was loaded with many bags and gifts. Suddenly he said, All this time, my life has been very simple. I was allowed to enjoy what was given, but I should never covet what's not mine. I've lived as if I didn't exist. I've had to live as my aliases more than my real name. Tea is one of them. I need time to think. If I'm to accept your offer, I need to be someone with practical power, not just a marquis in name, like I am now. She understood his hesitation. He wanted to know what kind of person I am. I understand, my lord, she said gently. You can take as much time as you need before giving me your answer. Inwardly she vowed, I'll make him believe how genuine I am about this divorce. I'll move into the Crystal Branch Hotel today, she said firmly. Leave a message at the front desk if you can't reach me. Then I'll. Your carriage is ready, a servant interrupted. Why are you going by yourself? T asked. I'm your bodyguard. What about me? She hesitated. Knowing who you really are now, I can't continue to hire you as my bodyguard. His expression fell. Your words hurt my feelings. I thought our relationship was more than that. Her eyes widened. Our relationship, she said. But you said you needed time to think about my proposal. I can do that while guarding you too, he replied simply. The deal is the deal, and work is work. They're separate, aren't they? You're right, she realized, startled by his calmness. Aha, so he wants to observe me, to find out more about me. Where are we off to now? He asked. She replied. To William Street, my lord. I'm going to meet my lawyer. He stiffened, his expression unreadable. She caught it instantly. What's with his face? Does he not want to go to the lawyer's office? T, he said suddenly. You should call me T, she agreed. All right. Let's go, T. Please have some tea, Sharon Maitanks offered, setting down a cup. Thank you, she replied politely, glancing around. Even at a glance, I can tell her business is suffering. But I have no doubt about her capabilities. Rihanna proved it in the novel. She recalled, in the original story, Rihanna had hired Sharon to save a woman from her abusive husband. Since regressing, she already knew Sharon would one day become highly successful. Thanks to Sharon, that woman not only secured her divorce but was later revealed to be the missing daughter of the Kingdom of Look's ambassador. Finally Ethel said, Sharon, I'd like you to represent me. The lawyer's brows drew together. It'd be an uphill battle, my lady. That doesn't matter, she replied steadily. Difficult or not, I'll fight until I divorce him. There are many lawyers better than I am, Sharon murmured. Ethel replied. However, only you specialize in divorce cases, she added. Besides, I can't name any other lawyer who wouldn't yield to House Cassius' attempts to buy them off, Sharon replied. Yours would be the most famous divorce case in history. I'm not confident I can help you win, Sharon admitted. Ethel tried to reason her. I know you're worried that if you lose, you might lose potential clients as well. I've done my research. Her voice sharpened. You take pro bono cases for poor women desperate for divorce. That's why you're knee-deep in debt now. Sharon replied, yes, unlike them, you can afford a much better lawyer. Ethel cried out, if I'm rejected by the only divorce lawyer in the empire, I'll have no choice but to work with someone mediocre. Then I'll certainly lose, and that would discourage countless other women. They'd be forced to endure their marriages for the rest of their lives. Sharon's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening me, my lady? Let's just say it's a logical prediction, she countered smoothly. My case is high risk, yes, but it can also bring high reward. If we win, it'll be a historic victory against House Cassius. Sharon sat back, considering. That's true. However, we'll need strong grounds for divorce to convince the judges. And even then, the ducal family's influence makes it difficult. I do have grounds, she said. My husband, Leandro, has significant trouble producing an heir. Sharon's eyes widened. Trouble producing an heir? Does that mean Lord Cassius is incapable of? He also gets shocked to hear that. If he hid such a crucial issue until after marriage, that's substantial grounds for divorce, the lawyer muttered. She glanced at her sharply. Is that true? Does he really have that problem? Ethel thinks in her mind, there's no way he has that issue. After all, he's the female lead's perfect brother. I believe so, she said almost teary. Though it's not based on personal experience, her voice trembled. That's because he's never even attempted it with me. My goodness, Sharon exclaimed. I heard rumors back at the academy, but I never thought they might be true. Ethel thinks in her mind. Oh, the false rumor his rival spread? Well, her eyes darkened. Leandro, do you think only you can play dirty? I'll make you want to surrender to a divorce. Sharon leaned forward. So that's what happened. Did you not know before your wedding? Ethel shakes his head in denial. Sharon erupted in rage. How absurd. That's clearly fraudulent marriage. It's more than enough reason to demand a divorce. What a real scumbag, T muttered. Ethel added tears in her eyes. I'm not sure if these count as grounds, but when I chose my wedding dress he He told them about the event. He's definitely out of his mind, Sharon interrupted, horrified. You've been through so much. I can only imagine how you felt. Her voice softened. Of course I'll help you. You're not alone in this fight. Tears started dripping from her face. Sharon's eyes widened slightly. Oh my, Lady Wallace. Then T offered her a handkerchief. Thank you, she breathed. He replied, You're welcome. In her mind she said, I truly appreciate your awkward yet sincere gesture. I had no idea you were having such a hard time, Sharon said quietly, her tone unusually earnest. I offer you my sincere apology, Ethel replied. How could you know? I didn't tell you everything before. Thank you for accepting my case. This is the remuneration I've prepared. I'm sure it's enough to cover your debts and hire reliable staff. Goodbye. My emergency fund, she thought bitterly, sliding the pouch across the table. Sharon hesitated, so Ethel asked, Is something the matter? Oh no, nothing's wrong at all, she said quickly. Ethel asked, Your face says otherwise. What is it? Sharon said. Well, actually, this amount falls short. It's not enough to pay off my debts and recruit new hires, Ethel cried inside. I should have taken more jewels with me from the ducal palace, Sharon added. Oh, you don't need to pay my debts, my lady. Covering my legal fees is already more than enough. T quickly gets the bag back and said, Please take this back, Lady Ethel. But before they could respond, Terence offered a check. You can write down the amount you need here and take it to the Imperial Bank. Sharon's eyes widened. This is a blank check. Feel free to write the amount that allows you to settle your debts, he said calmly. That way, you can focus entirely on this case, with Lady Ethel as your only client. She stared at him. Why, you don't have to do that much. Sharon looked at the check, startled. Terence Freeheiden. I hope to remain anonymous for the time being, he replied smoothly. I'm sure you catch my drift. Sharon smiled faintly. Of course. Unbelievable, Ethel thought. Oh right. I also need to find the Look Ambassador's missing daughter. Speaking of which, she said aloud, I recently saw a woman named Anna being dragged away by her husband. It looked like domestic violence. Could you look into that as well, Sharon? Of course. You can count on me, Sharon said firmly. Ethel blinked. I thought it'd take longer for her to decide. The clink of a cup drew her thoughts back. Terence leaned back, studying her. Since he revealed himself to Sharon and even provided financial support, I can take this as a yes, right? I'm a simple person, he said, as if reading her thoughts. I'm not much of a ponderer. She smiled faintly. I know that's not true. Thanks to you, I can save my money for now. I'll pay you back with interest later. There's no need. The tea recipe is worth far more than that. As long as you help me divorce, not only can I share the recipe, I can even brew the tea myself for the rest of my life. He chuckled. I see. As soon as we get to the hotel, we'll need to check into another place, in case House Cassius sends people again, she muttered. Terence shook his head. This carriage isn't heading for the hotel. She looked up sharply. Pardon, we're going to my house. I'm sure you'd feel more at ease there. Her face turned pale. What? I appreciate your kindness, but I'm still married. If word got out that I was staying at the Freeheiden estate, I apologize for the confusion, he interrupted. Not the estate. We're going to my villa just outside the capital. It's under someone else's name, so even House Cassius won't easily find out. Her shoulders eased slightly. Then, I'll gratefully accept your kindness. Well, now that we're officially on the same boat, shall we shake on it? She hesitated, staring at his outstretched hand. What he's doing for me is more than necessary. I wonder what he's thinking. You'll never regret making this choice, he said firmly. Let's not think of anything else for now. Welcome aboard, Terence Freeheiden. He blinked, momentarily dazed. This is very unlike me. Why did I offer her that check? I only intended to observe her for another week. Goodness, I even exposed the location of my villa. Her voice was steady when she spoke again. Please help me to get a divorce, Marquis Freeheiden. Later, at his villa, a servant whispered, My lord, is the lady you brought today truly just an ordinary guest? Shall I tell the maids to be more attentive? Cut the nonsense and get ready, Terence ordered curtly. Whatever for? I'll be going on a trip with my guest. Several days. Pardon? Where are you going this time? Ashton, capital city of the Cassius Dukedom. We've finally arrived. Ethel stretched as she stepped down from the carriage. Aren't you tired? Terence asked. Not at all. How could I be, when we traveled first class? She laughed. We have time before our appointment. Shall we walk instead? I'd love to, she said brightly. Will the maid really come to meet us? Terence asked quietly. I'm sure Laura will, Ethel replied. I brought her with me from House Wallace when I married into House Cassius. She'll testify that Leandro and I never had marital relations. I sent her an express mail. I hope she'll come. They walked into the bustling streets. Music, banners, and the fragrance of food filled the air. It seems there's a festival today, Terence noted. Yes, the Cassius Duchy has many festivals. He paused. Even if people here aren't familiar with your face, it won't hurt to be careful. He leaned closer, adjusting her hood. She flushed. I appreciate the thought, but I really wish he'd give me a heads up before coming so close. Her heart thudded. Ba-thump. He muttered, glancing up at the decorations. Happy birthday to my little Rihanna. They're holding a festival on her birthday? The Duke's love for his daughter is truly great. Oh, actually, Ethel hesitated. Little Rihanna doesn't refer to Rihanna Cassius. It's her pet dog, Percy. That's his nickname. Rihanna's birthday is different. It's her adoption day. He blinked. Her celebration lasts 15 days. Ethel continued dryly. This festival can't compare at all. Terence gave a short laugh. I can't believe they hold a festival for a puppy's birthday. Lady Ethel! A voice suddenly called. Ethel turns and shouts, Laura! She hugs her while Laura said, It's been a while, my lady. Then Ethel introduced Terence to her. Oh, this gentleman is Lord Terence. He has kindly been helping me a lot. Terence nods. Ethel said, Have you thought about my offer? You may get on House Cassius' bad side, but, Laura said, You don't even have to ask, my lady. I'll follow you, of course. Ethel felt touched. Laura. Ethel asked, seeing a bag with Laura, Is this your bag? She replied, Yes, I've resigned from House Cassius, so I can leave with you right away. Ethel grabs her hand asking, Then shall we go to the train station? But as she touched her hand, Laura shouts, Ouch. Ethel turned surprised. She asked, What's wrong, Laura? Did you hurt your hand? Laura replied nervously, And no, my lady. Ethel said, It's all right. Tell me what happened. Then Laura starts crying saying, I'm sorry. Actually, I didn't quit. I was fired. Shocked, Ethel asked, What? Who did such a thing without my permission? Laura replied that the head maid did. Laura tells, It happened the day before your letter arrived. The other maids were bringing Lady Rihanna's portrait. To be hung in your room, my lady. Ethel shouts, How absurd. Laura continues, I was trying to stop them when an ink pot fell on one of portrait. Ethel asked, Is that why the head maid fired you? Her hands were full of bruises, she said. Far from writing me a recommendation letter, she said I should be grateful to her for not making me pay for the ruined painting. Ethel thinks the head maid did this herself. Laura must have been completely at a loss since working as a maid is all she's been trained for. Laura said while crying, Please forgive me. I lied because I was worried you'd be upset if I told you the truth. Ethel said, I am upset, but only because you, who are precious to me, got hurt. Laura felt touched and hugs her while Ethel glares at Terence, and he nods. Ethel thinks House Cassius is one of the 5 ducal families of the empire. This great family has been defending the northern region of the country for a long time. I just remembered something I should do while I'm still. Ethel Cassius. Meanwhile at a place, the maids were celebrating Percy's birthday. Percy was their dog. Maid shouts, Happy birthday, Percy. Ruth Day. Suddenly the door slam opens. Ethel came along Terence and Laura. Seeing her the maid shouts, Oh Lady Ethel. We didn't receive any notice. Lord Leandro said you'd be staying in the capital a little longer. Ethel thinks, It seems the news about our divorce has yet to reach here. She noticed something which a maid was holding and thinks, It's just as I expected. She glares and said, Laura, who did you say dared to hang Rihanna's portrait in my room? Did I ask you to hang Rihanna's portrait in my room? The maids replied, And no, my lady. Ethel said, Since when do maids change their mistress's room arbitrarily? Is there such a custom in House Cassius, HM? The maid replied, Oh, of course not. Ethel asked, Then why did you try to hang it in my room? The maid said, I just thought you'd like it. Ethel thinks, It seems the people in this house are certain that everyone in the world will love Rihanna just like themselves. What are they, a religious cult? Ethel pointing toward some maids said, No more excuses. You and you 3 are fired. Don't even expect to get recommendation letters. The maid shouts, My lady. Please don't do this. Please let us stay beside Lady Rihanna. The head maid came and said, Would you please stop now? She bowed in front of Ethel and said, My apologies. We should have been prepared to welcome you properly, but we didn't get any word about your arrival in advance. Please forgive us. Laura gasps seeing her and hides behind Ethel saying, "It's the head maid." Ethel said to the maid who was holding the box, "You over there. What is it that you are holding? Bring it over here." The maid gets startled, "Pardon. And me, my lady?" While opening the box, Ethel thinks, "I'm going to start a very important conversation now, and I need this for this talk." The head maid said, "That's a magic artifact for Lady Rihanna." Ethel said, "I'll deliver this to her myself. I'm heading back to the capital soon." The head maid bowed and said, "It was I who made them hang the portrait in your room. If someone is to be punished, it should be me." Ethel thinks, seeing her, the head maid used to be Rihanna's nanny. It's no surprise that she's Rihanna's biggest fan. Then Ethel said, "Who gave you the right to lash Laura, my personal maid, and throw her out?" The head maid said, "It is within my authority to supervise all the maids in this house, my lady." Ethel said, "You are wrong. That authority is given to you by me, the lady of this house, and my personal maid is not subject to your supervision. If you're the head maid, shouldn't you know better than that? I can't help but think Rihanna is a poor judge of character since she's the one who recommended you as the head maid." The head maid shouts, "You can't speak about Lady Rihanna like that, my lady. It's true that the authority comes from the lady of the house. However, you are not that person." Ethel said, "My husband is the Lord's deputy whose authority was bestowed by Duke Cassius himself. Moreover, the Duchess passed away a long time ago, so who else would be the lady of House Cassius other than me?" The head maid shouts, "Lady Rihanna is." Ethel said, "I'll have you know that even if my mother-in-law, Duchess Cassius, were alive, I would still be the mistress as long as my husband is the Lord's deputy." The head maid said, "Perhaps I should have you know. The lady of this house is the one who holds the key to the treasure room, and its holder was, is, and always will be Lady Rihanna." Duke Cassius entrusted the key to the treasury to the then young Rihanna. Duke said, "You are very clever for your age. I can trust you with the finances of our household." Ethel thinks, "That's because she's an adult inside." Duke shouts, announcing, "Anyone who has a problem with my decision can leave this family." Ethel thinks, "After I got married to Leandro, I did actually try to take over the responsibility." She recalled herself saying, "Let me manage our household finances now." Rihanna said, "You don't have to worry about such troublesome work, Ethel." Duke said, "That's very thoughtful of you." Leandro said, "You are an angel, Rihanna." Lahim said, "You're just too nice to a fault, little bunny." Ethel thinks, seeing them, "Well, this is a wealthy family after all. It may not be so bad for me to lead a carefree life." Meanwhile the headmaid said, "If I may be frank, technically, you have no authority to punish nor fire us, my lady." Ethel thinks, "One thing I know for sure is that it was resignation, not contentment, that made me accept the way things are in House Cassius." Ethel shouts, "How dare you take me for a pushover? I'll tell my husband every single detail about this impertinent attitude of yours." The headmaid said, "I beg your pardon, but the young master also said that Lady Rihanna should continue to be in charge of household affairs." Ethel thinks, holding the box which was a recording device, "Yes, I've just secured strong evidence. This will be a critical piece of evidence at my divorce trial. It proves that Rihanna has been holding the authority that should have been mine, and not only has Leandro been aware of the fact, but he also has been going along with it." Ethel asked, "Is that so? That means I can't do anything whatsoever about you." The headmaid said, "Nevertheless, as your servants, we'll serve you well as we have thus far." Ethel turned, saying, "Don't bother. I'll just go to my room. You can return to your posts." Ethel wished Percy, "Oh, happy birthday, Percy." She thinks, "And thank you. Had it not been for your birthday, the eccentric inventor's recorder wouldn't have been here." The inventor is one of the talents Rihanna scouted based on her memory about her past life. In return for her financial support, Rihanna gained many ingenious and useful artifacts, and this recorder is one of them. Her maids would record interesting events and special occasions with this artifact, and send it back to her. Of course, Percy's birthday is one of such occasions. While she was going to her room, the head maid along the other maids came rushing, "My lady, please wait." Ethel opens the door and was shocked for a moment, seeing different portraits of Rihanna hanging on the wall. Ethel asked the head maid, "This is quite a number of portraits. Are these all gifts for me?" The head maid replied, "Yes, these are the latest pieces by the new artists House Cassius sponsors." Ethel said, "Although I'm not the lady of this house, I have the right to do whatever I want to my gifts, don't I?" She orders the maid, "Take all of them down this instant. Destroy them." The head maid asked, shocked, "My lady? I beg your pardon. Terence destroy one with his feet?" He asked, "Shall I do it like this?" The head maid and the other maids get shocked. What just? Ethel shouts. Have you not realized your mistake? How dare you hang those blasphemous paintings in my room? She asked, between the woman in the paintings and Rihanna herself. Who is more beautiful? The head maid said, Oh, of course, Lady Rihanna, my lady. Such paintings can never hold a candle to Lady Rihanna's beauty. Ethel said, Exactly. These paintings are nothing but imitations of the real Rihanna. The head maid said, But that's what paintings are for. But Ethel interrupts her. That's what paintings are for. HM? You don't really think such a lame excuse can explain this situation, do you? The head maid shouts. And no. Ethel said, Then tell me why you think I shouldn't destroy these things. Speak. The head maid lost her word. Ethel said, Why can't you say anything? She bowed and said, I deeply apologize, my lady. I shouldn't have overstepped. Please forgive me. Ethel said, If I could do as I please, I'd burn all the paintings in this house. But I'll be lenient this time. Meanwhile, she thinks, I should give the carrot after the stick. The head maid and others bowed, Yes, yes. Thank you. Then Terence and Laura starts destroying the portraits. Ethel said, This is the judgment on the blasphemy against Rihanna. We must destroy all the paintings in my room at the very least. Laura throws the paintings saying, Yes, my lady. I'll tear up every one of them to pieces. The head maid shouts, No. She kneeled saying, Please stop, my lady. I beg of you. Ethel said, How dare you insult me and Rihanna by putting up such vulgar things in my room? The head maid said, Please forgive me. I apologize for asking the artist to paint such things and putting them in your room. The other maid next to her starts crying saying, We're truly sorry. Please forgive us. The head maid also starts crying, however. I simply can't watch the faces that resemble her ladyship get destroyed like this. Please just punish me instead. Ethel said, I wish I could, but unfortunately, I'm not the lady of this house, am I? I can't punish you. The head maid said, It was impudent of me. Of course, you have every authority over us, my lady. The other maid said, Yes, so please punish us. Please forgive us, my lady. Ethel said, Don't you have someone else to apologize to too? Laura was unfairly thrown out just because she stood by her duties. Unless she forgives you, I can't forgive you either. The head maid and the others starts apologizing. Laura, I'm sorry, Laura, I'm so sorry. Ethel whispers, I was acting a little weird, wasn't I? Terence whispers back, I had no idea you cared about Lady Cassius so much. Ethel whispers, Are you having fun teasing me? He said, Yes, a bit. She asked, Just a bit? He smiled and said, A lot, actually. Hearing this, she pouts. Then she pushed the head maid out saying, Now, take your leave and go back to work. The door slammed closed. Ethel turns to pick some jewels. Meanwhile, Terence was seeing her from distance. Then they packed the things and left the manor. While on her way, she thinks, I'll never set foot here ever again. There was a hole in the wall, seeing which she said, We can go out through that dog hole. Meanwhile, a voice interrupts them. It's been a while, my lady. She turns to see who it was, and said, Butler. Terence came in front of Ethel while she thinks seeing the butler. Was he expecting us to come this way and waited here? The butler said, I remember when you first came to this estate. You praised this estate that I tended to as beautiful. Ethel said, You must have heard about our divorce from Leandro. He replied, Yes, I have. His Grace, or rather, the young master told me in secret. Ethel asked, Are you going to call for the others and stop me from leaving? The butler said, Please don't worry, my lady. I only came to bid you farewell. She asked, Farewell? Why would you do that when the result is far from decided? The butler bowed and said, Whether it will be in your favor or not, it's as plain as day that your heart is no longer here, my lady. Suddenly they heard someone coming. She starts rushing, Let's go, tea. Then they went out from that hole. While they left, the butler was standing there seeing them. They sat down in a carriage. Terence asked, Let's head for the Ashton train station as planned but Ethel interrupts saying, Wait. She asked, Why did the butler send us quietly? She thinks he has devoted 20 years of his life to serving Duke Cassius since the Duke was a young man. However, when I was simply existing like a doll at the Cassius estate, he would come and ask if I'd have tea with him from time to time. And although we didn't talk much, the time spent with him felt comfortable. Terence said, There may be at least one sensible person in that house after all. Laura said, Oh, you may be right, my lord. The butler did indeed treat me nicely. Ethel asked, Did he now? Laura said, When your ladyship was away, he often made me run simple errands for him, so that I could spend some time in town for a change. He even gave me pocket money. Ethel said, Perhaps I should meet the butler again. A testimony from someone who's been in House Cassius for a long time would work well to my favor. Laura said, I know his address. I've once visited his house for an errand. They went to Butler's house. Laura introduced, this is Mrs. Herman, the butler's housekeeper. She had already told Ethel and Terence in carriage. His wife passed away a long time ago, so please be careful not to make any mistake. Then she gave her a basket saying, the butler told me to bring you the leftovers from the banquet. Mrs. Herman said, with this much food, Joshua and I will be able to eat to our fill. Ethel asked, Joshua? The housekeeper said, oh my word, what am I doing? I'll go and bring some tea right away. Terence asked Ethel, who could Joshua be? Ethel thinks, Joshua is the butler's only son who made a single appearance in the novel. He came across Rihanna at the Cassius estate when he was young and fell for her at first sight, so he gave her a handmade gift. Unfortunately, the Duke witnessed the scene and exploded. Afterward, the Duke would fly into a fury whenever a boy of Rihanna's age approached her. Rihanna isn't dating the Crown Prince for no reason. She's dating him because he's the Crown Prince. The housekeeper brings tea and said, please have some tea. Ethel thinks Mrs. Herman suddenly changed the subject when Joshua's name was brought up. I wonder why. Then her gaze fell on some handmade figures. Oh, how cute! The housekeeper said, pretty, aren't they? The butler made them. Ethel thinks, this one is rather clumsily made compared to the others. Is this Joshua's work? Suddenly a voice came. Ethel gets alarmed. Someone came from stairs asking, Mrs. Herman, did they leave? Who were they to suddenly show up in droves? Terence came in front of Ethel. It was Joshua who saw them and starts trembling. He rushed back up to his room. Ethel and Terence stood confused and surprised. The housekeeper said, oh my goodness, he's the butler's son, Joshua. Sir Butler said that Joshua suffered a terrible shock when he was young. That's why he's having trouble meeting strangers ever since. He looked more terrified than usual today. I suppose he saw your sword, sir. Terence asked, my sword? She said, yes, Joshua is terribly afraid of any kind of sword. Ethel asked, did you say he has an aversion to swords? Then his symptoms probably mean. Suddenly a voice filled with anger came, what are you all doing here? It was the butler. He stood seeing them with anger visible on his face. The butler shouts, this is outrageous. How could you come to my house unannounced? Ethel said, it's very unlike you to get so worked up like this. Well, some people do have a tendency of hiding their embarrassment with resentment. He glanced at stairs and then said, Mrs. Herman, I think you should leave for the day. While leaving, the housekeeper said, if you'll excuse me. The butler sits on sofa saying, my son is never an embarrassment I want to hide. Ethel said, by embarrassment, I didn't mean Joshua. I was referring to your irresponsibility. The butler asked, are you saying I'm irresponsible? Ethel said, you heard me right. You chose to serve the person who left a haunting scar on your son as your master. Is that not irresponsible? He gets shocked and asked, how did you? Then he said while his hands trembles, but it was an accident. Ethel said, no, it wasn't. Duke Cassius consciously chose to point his sword at young Joshua. The Duke saw that Joshua was hovering around Rihanna. Fortunately, nothing serious happened because Rihanna stopped her father, but for young Joshua, his first love became an ingrained wound in his heart. She thinks, after that, I'm sure he must have been reminded of his heartbroken son every time he saw Rihanna. She said, you shouldn't have continued to work for House Cassius. More importantly, you shouldn't have neglected your son like that. The butler cried out loud, then what should I have done? I devoted all my youth to serve him. His Grace used to care about the little people. He used to say he'd make his dukedom a happy place for everyone, no matter how low their status might be. Even if I wished to leave him, he wouldn't have let a traitor leave quietly. Ethel said, how disappointing. I thought you might be able to testify for me. If you even have a shadow of concern for Joshua. If you wish to receive a proper apology from the Duke and cure your son's wounded mind. She gives him the handmade statue of him made by Joshua and said, come to me. You can reach me through my lawyer in the capital, Sharon Maitangs. Since you've been living as Duke Cassius' loyal servant, how about spending the rest of your life as your son's father? They went to a hotel and Ethel said, the last train is long gone. Let's stay the night at a hotel. Tonight everything's on me. Then they had dinner, and after that she takes bath. Then she went to the bed. She thinks, in a returner's rosy second life, all the villains faced unhappy endings, while Rihanna and the nice people around her lived happily ever after. However, was the real Ethel in the novel happy too? Just like the butler and Joshua, there may be more people who live with pain and suffering because of House Cassius. The next day, Ashton train station. Ethel saw the butler standing there. She said to Terence and Laura, "Why don't you two go ahead? I'll catch up after speaking with him." Terence said, "Very well." She then went to Butler. He asked, "Is it true that Joshua's illness is curable?" Ethel said, "Doctors in the capital are studying ways to treat illnesses of the mind through counseling, therapy, and medication." He said, "I see. I was afraid of people's prying eyes, so I've been keeping him inside." "Do you truly think he can receive an apology, my lady?" She said, "Well, it's possible if the Duke still has his old self even just a bit." He said, "Currently, all His Grace's attention is focused on Lady Rihanna. If I could, I'd like to bring His Grace back to his old self." Meanwhile, Laura calls, "Lady Ethel, the train is leaving soon." The butler said, "I have yet to make up my mind." She said, "Don't worry. You can reach me anytime when your heart is set." After that she went in train. The butler took his hat off and says goodbye. Next day Ethel and Terence were having tea. She asked, "What do you think?" He said, "This is it. Why does the tea not taste like this when I make it? Perhaps I don't have a knack for brewing tea at all." She said, "You don't need a knack to brew tea. Besides, they taste all the same to me." Meanwhile she thinks, "Anyway, having tea time every morning and evening isn't so bad." He said, "I have some personal business to tend to today, so I'm afraid I can't accompany you to the lawyer's office." "I'm sorry." She said, "Oh, please don't worry about that." He then said, "I'll introduce you to someone else instead." At the lawyer's place, she said, "Oh, are you Lady Ethel's new bodyguard?" Vinetta, Ethel's temporary guard, said, "Pleased to meet you. I'm Vinetta, Lady Ethel's temporary guard." The lawyer said, "You went to the academy, didn't you? I think I've seen you there." Vinetta said, "Yes, Marquis Terence recognized my talent and provided for my school expenses. My relationship with the Marquis is strictly that of a sponsorship in nature." "I hope there's no misunderstanding, my lady." Ethel said, "Misunderstanding? What do you?" She thinks, "Goodness. I did think the servants at the villa were overly kind to me. We're not like that." Meanwhile someone came and said, "Lord Cassius has arrived." They came out and Ethel asked him, "What are you doing here?" He replied, "Your lawyer moved her office." "I doubt Lawyer Mytanks can afford any place in this district." He asked, "You provided for the rent, didn't you?" She said, "What if I did?" He said, "Then you must have sold my gifts for you to raise the money, since all you brought with you when you got married was the abandoned mine." She asked, "So what? Are you going to be petty and take the gifts back from me?" He said, "Be petty. Ahem, where are you staying these days?" Ethel said, "I'm not going to tell you that." He said, "I've been trying really hard to tolerate it all, but I must say you're such an unbearable woman." She asked, "What exactly have you been tolerating?" Meanwhile she thinks, "Who's tolerating whom here, huh?" He shouts, "How could you destroy Rihanna's portraits? Do you have any idea how shocked she was? She was very depressed, saying that she never thought you'd hate her so much. And father was so furious that he said he'd never let you in again even if you beg in tears." She thinks, "Who said I'd come back?" He said, "But Rihanna asked him to give you another chance. She's just too nice. She's an angel without wings. Luckily for you, father is quite busy with other affairs at the moment. You'd better take this chance and seek his forgiveness." She asked, "What other affairs is he busy with?" He said, "Ahem. I can't let someone outside the family know that." She turned, saying, "Someone outside your family? This is exactly why I want a divorce." Then he said, "Ha." The butler disappeared after leaving a resignation letter on my desk. She asked, "Did his son disappear too?" He asked, "His son? Oh right, the butler has a son." He said, "Seeing that he's never been mentioned in a long time, I suppose he probably has been living as he pleases somewhere else." Ethel said, "Perhaps you're wrong. He might have a reason not to mention him." He said, "That's absurd. The butler has been with my family for a long time. We are like a family." She thinks, "Like a family. You and the butler. I'm not sure if the butler will decide to side with me. At least he didn't seem to ignore what I said." He said, "Father suspects that he's been kidnapped." Ethel turns, thinking, "That's what he wants to believe." She said while leaving, "You should leave now." But he tries to stop her. "Wait. I need you to come with me." She asked, "Why would I go with you?" "I don't trust you." He said, "I reserved a table at a nearby hotel restaurant." She said, "I don't want to speak with you anymore." He said, "You can speak with someone else." He said, "Actually, Countess Wallace is waiting for you." She thinks, "Looks like the time has come." In the novel, Ethel is a poor noble lady who sacrifices herself for her family. There's no way the Wallace family would agree with this divorce, especially when they're financially dependent on House Cassius. However, that's the story of the real Ethel Wallace, not mine. Then she said, "Fine, let's go." They starts walking and Vinetta joins them. Seeing her, he asked, "Who's that woman?" Ethel said, "Can't you see? She's my guard, he said, so you fired the arrogant fellow from the other day. Good for you. They starts walking towards their destination. After reaching there, murmurs filled the air. That man over there, isn't he Leandro Cassius? Oh, the Duke's son who's getting a divorce? Then is the woman next to him. They enters the room where Countess was waiting for them. She said, Ethel, my dear, it's been so long. Let me see your face. Venetta came in front of Ethel and said, Halt. You can't approach Lady Ethel without her permission. The Countess said, Excuse me? I'm her mother. Venetta said, I'm afraid there's no exception. You must have her permission first. Leandro shouts, How dare you? This is a family matter. Back off. And Ethel cuts him up. You back off. He shouts, Ethel. The Countess said, Please don't worry, my lord. It seems this guard is overly enthusiastic about her work. Then she said, Can you give your mother a hug, Ethel? But Ethel replied straight, No. The Countess, shocked, asked, What? Ethel said, I said no. Don't come close to me. Leandro said, Ethel, how cold of you to say that to your mother. Ethel said, Countess Wallace, as of today, I will cut all my connections with you and the rest of the Wallace family. Shocked Countess said, What are you? If we made you upset somehow. But Ethel interrupts saying, From today onward, I will not lend you any money, nor will I continue to pay for Hollis Wallace's debts. Leandro said, Ethel. The Countess grits in anger. Then she shouts, Shut your mouth. Leandro said, See, Countess. She gasped, then she said, Oh my, I was so angry that despite myself, Ethel thinks she can't keep her temper even for a moment. I can see how she usually treated Ethel. She asked Leandro, Would you please excuse us for a moment? I'd like to talk with my daughter alone comfortably. He said, Of course. She said, My daughter is usually very gentle. She cares about me and her father very much. He left saying, Please rest easy. I'm sure she'll soon realize her mistakes and return to her usual self. While leaving, he said to Ethel, I hope you'll talk it out well with your mother, Ethel. Then he left and closed the door. The Countess turns towards Venetta and said, I'd like you to stay outside too. But she replied determined, No way, ma'am. The Countess said, Oh please, just want to have a mother and daughter time. The Countess felt annoyed but then straightened her expression. Then she noticed a boy behind them and asked, Who are you? How long have you been here? He said, I am a messenger. I was here from the beginning. Before they left the lawyer's office, the lawyer said, Lady Ethel, I think you should bring Cobble with you. He can move nimbly and covertly. You can send him to me if you're in a pinch. The Countess said, I don't care. I need you to leave at least. But Ethel said, No, stay, Robbie. Then she sat down on the table and Countess said, Have a seat, Ethel. I'd like to see you enjoy this scrumptious spread. Meanwhile, Ethel thinks, What a two-face. The Ethel in the novel used to lay her hopes on that fickle woman's occasional kindness. In novel, the Countess hugs her and said, Ethel, my daughter, you're the only one who understands how I feel. The Ethel from novel thinks, If I try a little harder, she'll love me as much as she does my brother. Ethel thinks, however, that Ethel is no more. I'm not this woman's daughter. She turns saying, If you don't have any other business, I'll take my leave. The Countess shouts, Stop right there, Ethel Wallace. How rude of you. Do you think you can look down on your family now that you're married into House Cassius? Venetta came in front of Ethel and said, Please stand back. Ethel noticed Robbie standing still near the door. Ethel said, It's all right, Venetta. The Countess shouts, You arrogant wench. We shouldn't have coddled you too much. Ethel said, You never coddled me. The Countess shouts, What? We fed you, clothed you, and put a roof on top of your head. Ethel said, That's what parents do for their children, but you were even neglectful of those duties. The Countess starts trembling and said, You? Then what about after you got married? We went to see you, but how can you not show your face even once? Ethel said, We both know you only came for money, just like when you came to ask us to fund Samuel's business. And every time, Leandro paid you. The Countess said, He didn't pay us. She shouts, We just said we wanted to borrow some money out of courtesy, and that idiot really only lent us the funds. You can't divorce him. What if he demands we pay back all the money we borrowed from him at once? I heard Duke Cassius is enraged. He might bankrupt our family. Ethel asked coldly, So what? The Countess asked, What did you just? Ethel said, If you borrowed money, you should pay it back, and if you can't pay it back, you should face the consequences. The Countess said, Why, you don't seem to know how serious things are. Our family could be forced out onto the streets. Ethel slaps her hand. She said, Then you shouldn't have borrowed the money in the first place. The Countess said, I'm your mother? How dare you? She tries to attack, shouting, You ingrate. But Venetta grabs her. She shouts, Let go of me. I said let go of me. I sacrificed so much to raise you. Ethel takes off her gloves and raised her hand in air to strike. The Countess gets shocked and Venetta stood surprised. The Countess closed her eyes thinking Ethel is going to slap her. But Ethel slapped her own face. Then she shouts, "Please don't do this, mother." She fell down and someone shouts, "My lady." Leandro asked from outside, "What's going on in here?" He opens the door and along him everyone gets shocked. The Countess flinched. Ethel pretends to be unconscious and the mark from her slap was visible. Seeing her, Leandro gets shocked and asked, what in the world?" Ethel cries out, "How could you do this to me, mother?" In front of a shocked crowd, she recounts all the chores she was forced to do. "I did the laundry, I washed the dishes, I cooked, I cleaned the house. And I even made you money by sewing." The onlookers are scandalized. "My goodness, how could a noblewoman make her daughter do all those things? Even a commoner wouldn't do that." Ethel continues, revealing the abuse. "But still, you lashed, slapped, and kicked me." Her mother's face is a mask of rage. The crowd gasps. "Oh my, she even used violence." Ethel, supported by Venetta, reveals the final straw. "Even about my own marriage, you pushed me to get married, against my will." The murmurs grow louder. "For heaven's sake, she even forced her to get married. What a mean mother. I feel so sorry for the daughter." Ethel thinks back. "All I asked him was to call Leandro and people over here. What a clever boy." Flashback to outside the VIP room. The young boy nervously grabs Leandro's arm. "The atmosphere seems off, my lord. I'm afraid something serious will happen. Please come and help her." Lord Cassius' wife is inside the room, and I'm so worried that something will happen to her. Back in the present, Leandro is stunned. She was forced into marrying me." Ethel recounts her plea. "I told you I couldn't marry a man I hardly knew, only after meeting him a few times. I also told you I was scared of the people of House Cassius. But you said I have to marry into that family and clear your debts for you." The crowd whispers. "Come to think of it, I heard House Wallace was heavily in debt. Then she sold her daughter for money. Poor thing. To tell you the truth, aren't the people of House Cassius rather scary?" Her mother explodes. What are you talking about? You said you liked it too." Ethel fires back. "You, father, and even Samuel kept pressing me, so I couldn't help it." The crowd judges. "What a despicable family. They are a disgrace to the nobility." Her mother tries to defend herself. "And no, it's not like that." But Ethel's had enough. "I'm not going to live by your expectations anymore," she declares. "As of today, I shall abandon the Wallace name." Later, riding in a carriage, Ethel winces. "Ouch," Venetta asks. "You hit yourself too hard, my lady. So did you achieve your goal?" Ethel smirks. "Since things went as I planned, yes, I guess so." She repeats her declaration. "As of today, I shall abandon the Wallace name." Her mother is outraged. Leandro is shocked. What are you?" Leandro's face darkens. "Step outside, Countess," the boy excitedly announces. "Excuse me, please make way for Countess Wallace dash." The door slams shut. Alone with Ethel, Leandro says, "Ethel, I had no idea you had such circumstances." Ethel retorts, "Precisely speaking, you didn't care about me. Don't tell me you weren't informed of the fact that I tried to avoid seeing my family after I got married to you. Well, any matter concerning me must have been nothing but trivial to the always busy young master." Leandro looks down, contemplative. Later, Ethel and Venetta leaves with the boy. Leandro watches Ethel leaving with her mother. They reached at a manor. Venetta helps Ethel while she came out from the carriage and Venetta said to her, "We have one last issue to deal with now." Ethel confused asked, "Issue?" Venetta sighed and said, "You'll see." Ethel, with a determined look, says, "We're back, my lord." T smiles. "Please, just call me T." Ethel, startled, looks up. "What's wrong?" T stood shocked seeing her cheek. T reaches out, stopping her. His eyes are blazing red. "Who did this?" Ethel touches her cheek, realizing he's talking about the slap mark. "Oh, this." T rage intensifies. "Who in the world dares to?" he said to Venetta. "I told you to make sure no one could touch even one hair on her." Venetta kneels, terrified. "I apologize, my lord. It's all my fault." Ethel brushes him aside. "No, it's not her fault at all." T said, "I need to know who did this to you." Ethel, flustered, blurts out, It was me. I slapped my own face." T is stunned. "Pardon." Later, in a sitting room, T and Venetta listen as Ethel explains. T smiles, impressed. "What a brilliant plan." "Thank you." So Venetta didn't do anything wrong. Ethel beams. Vanetta said. Actually, I did, my lady. Vanetta explains. When you explained your plan to me, I didn't even try to stop you. As a result, I failed to protect you as I was ordered. I would have nothing to say even if I'm punished. Ethel's heart skips a beat. How reliable. T breaks the tension. If you haven't had dinner yet, shall we eat together? Later, walking with T, Ethel remarks. I never thought you'd be so worried about me. T replies. Of course I am, because we are. Ethel prompts. Yes. T gazes at her. We are. T, ever the charmer, leans in. Of course I am, because we are. Ethel, a bit flustered, prompts. Yes. He finishes. Partners. Ethel's eyes widen. Partners? T, ever so casually, replies. Yes, because we need each other. Ethel nods. You sure helped me a lot. You are of great help to me too. T responds. Ethel explains. But I've already told you all I know about the healing tea recipe. Ethel brightly suggests. If you can't brew it yourself, you can just teach the recipe to someone else so that. T cuts her off. That's enough for that topic. Shall we eat first? And with that, they head to a lavishly set table. Later, under the moonlight, T sat at balcony. Meanwhile, Ethel came and stood behind the window. He noticed her and calls out, Lady Ethel. Ethel turns, surprised. My lord. T asks, Is it uncomfortable for you to call me T? He pours more wine, she replied. Oh, I didn't realize I was doing it again. Leaning in, Ethel continues. Well, I suppose there are some people in this villa who might be unaware of your true identity. Ethel said. All right, but you have to promise to call me Ethel too, he whispers. Ethel. Ethel, flustered, wonders, Why am I getting shy? T asks softly. Does it still hurt? Ethel smiles, touching her cheek. Do you mean my cheek? After putting some ointment and an ice pack on it, it's all right now, T says. I think you should cherish yourself more. How do you feel right now? I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to completely cut off such important family ties from your life, Ethel replies. I feel fine. Ethel thinks to herself. I'm actually deeply despised by my father's wife. If I could, I would have severed my connections a long time ago, Ethel said. Your situation seems to be much more serious than mine. T shrugs. No, it's more or less the same. Ethel smiles. Thank you for comforting me. T responds. Don't mention it. That's what partners are for. Ethel thinks. I used to feel ill at ease when I was left alone with Leandro, but I feel so comfortable with T even though we've known each other for less than a month. T then asks, Do you have any plans after your divorce, Ethel? Ethel answers, I haven't thought out the details yet, but I'm going to leave the Empire. T, surprised, asks, Pardon? Ethel explains, Once the trial begins, the whole nation will get to know who I am and gossip about me. I don't think I can handle such publicity. She thinks, above all, I can't bear the sight of House Cassius. Rihanna will marry the crown prince and eventually become the empress who is loved by the people. Ethel continues internally. Following that, Duke Cassius will rise to the pinnacle of power. Moreover, House Wallace won't leave me alone for sure. So I'll just move to another country and live off the money from the Anala mine. She thinks happily. Money is the best. Ethel then considers. Maybe I should ask Laura to come with me. Once I settle down, I should invite Sharon and Vanetta to visit too, as well as the closest one among my newest friends, the person who's before me right now. Ethel noticed his expressions and asks, T, what's wrong? He asks, Are you really going to leave? She said, I'm sorry, I didn't think I needed to tell you that. T responds, That's not something for you to apologize to me for, of course not. I suppose I considered myself more important than I actually am. I've just woken up to reality. She asks, Pardon. He then asks, Shall we make a toast? As comrades. Ethel, beaming, responds, My pleasure. T proposes, Here's to the successful achievement of all your goals. They clink glasses. Ethel adds, And yours too. T wonders, What is my goal? She said internally, Isn't it to become the emperor instead of the crown prince? Then she asks him, Don't you want to become the crown prince? T responds, Frankly speaking, I'm not sure if I have a goal. That's why I've decided to look for one going forward. Ethel smiles. I'm sure you'll find the best goal for your life. T thinks, If only I could do just that. Later that night, they sat there for hours while having drinks, but T looks on with a somber expression. Next morning, Ethel is reading documents, but clearly not having a good time. I didn't know getting a divorce would be so hard. She plops back dramatically on the couch. The lawyer suggests she gets some fresh air. Exhausting, isn't it? Why don't you get some fresh air? Ethel perks up immediately. Can I? Suddenly the door opens with a burst of sound. A boy arrives with a letter. Lady Ethel, I have a letter for you. Ethel examines it, noticing something odd. Huh! This doesn't have the sender's name on it, the messenger tells her. He said you'd know who it's from when you read it. Her eyes widen in realization. I'll be right back, she announces to the room, and dashes off. Outside in the garden, she finds the butler waiting on a bench. You chose to see me in the heart of the capital. Isn't it too risky? She asks gravely. He responds, although it's been some time since I stopped training new recruits, everyone currently serving His Grace used to be my pupils. Would this answer your question? Ethel seems reassured, but immediately pivots. That's very reassuring. How's your son doing? He replies carefully. Your ladyship, no. How very kind of you, Lady Ethel. Ethel looks surprised. Pardon? The butler responds, the first thing you ask is how my son is doing instead of asking if I testify for you. He continues, Joshua is doing fine. The night after you left, I asked him if he'd like to receive treatment in the capital. His response made me realize how foolish of me to have kept him within the land ruled by House Cassius. He continues, reflecting. I could tell that good boy has been patiently and silently suffering. Ethel said if I were him, I'd be very happy to know that my father is finally trying to do something for me. Butler asks, despite the fact that I've ignored his pain for such a long time? Ethel smiles softly. Your son could take courage because he trusts you. Suddenly, a young man rushes toward them. Slow down. You'll fall if you run like that. He scoops up a child in a hug. The butler watches them, then said, the proposal you offered me back then, about becoming your witness, does it still stand, my lady? Ethel's face lights up. Of course. But then she's all ACK. Later, Ethel, accompanied by Vinette, strides purposefully through the city. But then Ethel explodes. Did that scumbag really say that? As we flash back to a moment between Butler and Leandro, he said, I think I was mistaken, he mutters. I thought it was love because I felt drawn to her before the wedding. Leandro, looking miserable, continues, but now I just don't feel anything toward her. Back in the present, Ethel shouts, it wasn't love from either, okay? I only liked you after reading the novel. It was just a crush. We see visions of her past self with Leandro, and then her face contorts with fury. So that bastard has trifled with me all this time, huh? A few moments ago she asked Butler, could you testify what you just said to me in court? Butler said, I intend to say whatever I heard and saw truthfully. Back in the city, Ethel is fuming. Ugh, it's my loss if I get angry. A newspaper vendor calls out. Newspaper! Newspaper! Ethel realizes. Thanks to that, I've obtained a crucial testimony, right? A newspaper vendor approaches and Vinette yells. Yikes! Ethel reassures her. I'm fine, Vinette. She buys a paper. I'll take one. The vendor is thrilled. Thank you. It has very interesting news about Lord Cassius. Ethel groans. Ugh, not that bastard again. She and Vinette look at the headlines. Breaking news. With the public attention fixed on the impending divorce of the young Cassius couple. Multiple witnesses who participated in the event have said that Lord Leandro Cassius was unusually intoxicated at the banquet hosted by Count Felix yesterday. One of the attendees, who requested to remain anonymous, told the paper that Lord Cassius' tremendous emotional distress, which presumably is what led to such unusual behavior. Ethel crumples the paper in disgust. My goodness, they even put up an ad. People would think that he's a hopeless romantic. The ad was, Ethel, it's all my fault. Please come back to me. I shall do whatever you want me to do as long as you come back to me. Leandro Cassius. Passers-by whisper. Have you read? Yes, I feel so sorry for Lord Cassius. He seems to deeply love his wife. A busy husband might naturally be not at home sometimes. What an inconsiderate woman. Vinette looks concerned. My lady. Ethel reassures her. Don't worry, I'm fine. Manipulating public opinion through the media is Rihanna's usual tactic. Ethel thinks. Isn't there a way to reverse the public's opinion? I need a way to get everyone's attention and use it to my advantage. Suddenly, her lawyer approaches. Here you are. I've been looking all over for you, she exclaims. I've found the person who ticked all the descriptions you mentioned. Ethel is intrigued. The next day, a carriage carrying Ethel arrives. Inside, Anna is looking anxious. Ethel thinks, I've found my trump card. Look is a small but rich and mighty kingdom. When the Look ambassador lost her daughter during her trip to Astaroth, she never returned to her home country. Instead, she remained in the Empire, searching for her missing child. Anna, looking distraught, thinks, I have no recollection of my childhood, yet you just said I'm the missing daughter of the Look ambassador. It's hard to believe. Ethel remembers when she first saw Anna. I was certain the moment I saw Anna. From her circumstances to her name and appearance, everything about her was exactly as explained in the novel. She thinks I knew I could count on Sharon. I've seen the missing child poster back then. I think to myself that I wish I was that child, but Anna fidgets and said. She continues, as you can see, I have brown hair, while the child they're looking for is blonde. Ethel smiles reassuringly. Don't worry. It's common for blonde hair to turn brown as one grows older. You can trust me, Anna. You're the spitting image of the ambassador. Meanwhile she thinks, though I've never met her. Anna looks downcast. But I was found in the eastern part of the empire. The ambassador lost her daughter in the south. Ethel responds. Actually, they arrive at the Look embassy. Ethel and Anna walk towards the gates. Halt. Guards block their path. I'd like to meet with the ambassador, Ethel announces. I'm here with her missing daughter. The guard scoffs. Pfft. Her missing daughter? Here's yet another fraud, he said. We've seen countless people like you showing up here with fakes. Ma'am, you should have tried to match the hair color at least. In what way do you think this dowdy woman resembles the ambassador? Anna is crestfallen. Perhaps I shouldn't have followed you here. Please look at this, Ethel said as she presents something to the guard. What's that? The guard's eyes widen. It's the crest of the House Cassius. He stops them. Please wait. I'll be right back with the ambassador. Ethel turns to Anna with a confident smile. I told you can trust me. You have nothing to worry about. Inside the embassy, the ambassador is informed. Did you say we have a visitor from House Cassius? She looks shocked, as she saw Ethel standing there with Anna. What's the matter, my dear? Her husband asks. Trembling, the ambassador points. That's. His eyes widen in recognition. Goodness, Diana. Is that you? Diana? Anna looks overwhelmed. Ethel presents a document. This is a written account by the person who found Miss Anna in a resort city in the south. Due to a mistake by the orphanage staff, her information was mixed up. That's why Miss Anna believed she was found at a different place. The ambassador looks at the documents, then embraces Anna. I'm sorry, Diana. I'm so sorry I lost you. Anna tearfully calls her. Mom. Ethel thinks. It was originally Rihanna who got Anna back to her family, but Ethel wipes away a tear. The guard looks on, touched. Ethel dashed away while Anna noticed her and asked, Wait, where are you going? Ethel said, Oh, I was only going to step aside for a bit so you can enjoy this reunion. Anna's parents shower Ethel with gratitude. Anna said, That lady brought me here. Had it not been for her, I'd never met you again. The ambassador says, You made our family complete again. I don't know how to thank you. Anna's father insists. We can't just let you go. Not until you accept something from us in exchange. The ambassador adds, We'll do anything for you, please just say the word. Ethel, touched by their gratitude, thinks, Well, if you insist, I actually do have a favor to ask of you. A few days later, the Astaroth Empire's central court. The courthouse is bustling with people. Here comes House Cassius. The Cassius family carriage arrives. Rihanna and Duke came out of carriage. The crowd shouts, Wow, it's Lady Rihanna. She waves at crowd saying hello, everyone. The crowd shouts, Your ladyship, please look over here. You're lovely today too. We love you, Lady Rihanna. Rihanna's admirers are out in full force. Her brother says, I'll ride with Rihanna when we go home after this. Duke responds, Only if you win the coin toss. Meanwhile, a reporter says, Lord Cassius. Another journalist asks, How do you feel right now? Do you think you have the upper hand in this trial? A reporter tries to get Leandro's attention. A word please, my lord. Another reporter shouts. Please look over here. Another reporter aggressively asks. Is it true that your wife was abused by her own parents, and that they forced her to marry with you? Leandro abruptly stops. He turns and glares. Rihanna grabs Leandro's arm tightly. He looks at her with a concerned expression. There's only one thing I'd like to say, Leandro declares. I want nothing more than to clear up any misunderstanding there is with my beloved wife and continue our happy marriage. He looks determined. Rihanna, looking downcast, says, Everyone, please pray that my brother does not meet the end of his marriage. The crowd responds, We'll pray for him, Lady Rihanna. A reporter laments, I've got nothing to report. Another one exclaims, A carriage! Here comes another carriage! Could that be Ethel Cassius? The Look ambassador's carriage arrives, and the crowd is shocked. "It's the Look ambassador," a reporter asks. "Ma'am, what brings you to the courthouse today? Is there any diplomatic conflict between Astaroth and Look?" The ambassador replies. "I'm only here to escort a very important person." She gestures towards the carriage. "Let me introduce to you, my savior and an honored guest of the Look Kingdom, Lady Ethel." Ethel steps out of the carriage, looking serene. "I'm Ethel Cassius, though I'm trying to get rid of the Cassius name." The crowd murmurs in surprise. The ambassador continues, "There's one more person I'd like to introduce to all of you. It's the child whom I lost some 20 years ago. My daughter Diana." The crowd gasps. "Did she just say her daughter?" "This is a scoop," a reporter asks. "Ma'am, how did you find your daughter?" The ambassador smiles. "Actually, it's Lady Ethel here who found her. My family owe her greatly," she adds. The King of Look was also pleased to hear this news, and extended an official invitation for Lady Ethel to visit the kingdom. As Ethel is escorted inside, a reporter asks, "Lady Ethel, could you tell us how you found Miss Diana?" Inside the courthouse, the reporters are still clamoring for information. "How do you feel right now? Do you have no intention of dropping your divorce request?" Ethel responds firmly, "I shall clearly reveal everything in court." Ethel is escorted into the courthouse by Venetta and 2 guards. "It's as crowded as a market," she observes through window. Venetta reassures her. "They can't enter the courthouse, you can rest assured." Leandro came and called Ethel's name. Seeing him, Ethel thinks, "Not again, you leech." Leandro approaches her, looking desperate. "Even though you were forced into this marriage, I'll do my best to make you happy from now on." Ethel cuts him off. "I have no more breath to waste for you. If you have something to say it in court," and walks away. Leandro pleads, "Just one moment, Ethel. Please talk with me." Suddenly, Rihanna intervenes. "Leandro, let me talk to her," she says. Leandro looks shocked. "You will talk to her?" And then turning to Ethel she says, "Yes, I'll persuade her to change her mind. So trust me and give us a moment," Leandro said. "All right. I hope you'll succeed, Rihanna." Seeing them, Ethel thinks, "I can't believe he's even leaving his divorce in his sister's hands. What a douchebag." Rihanna says, "Would you please excuse us too?" Venetta firmly states, "I'm sorry, but as Lady Ethel's bodyguard, I'm afraid I can't." Rihanna responds, "Ha, you're very loyal. Ethel, please dismiss her." Ethel thinks, "There's something different about Rihanna. I can feel it, though I can't pinpoint exactly what it is." Ethel said, "Venetta, please leave us for a moment." Ethel and Rihanna face each other, and Rihanna takes Ethel's hands. Startled, Ethel asks, "What are you doing?" Rihanna says, "I heard from Leandro that you were treated poorly by your family. Oh, how hard it must have been for you." Ethel cringes. Rihanna continues tearfully, "I understand how you feel. When I was in the orphanage, I was abused by the director too. He was a really bad man. He used to starve me and even hit me." Ethel thinks, "I know that you're the one who reported the director to Duke Cassius, and got him punished." Rihanna said, "So I know how you feel better than anyone else, Ethel." Ethel looks at her cautiously. Rihanna's smile widens. "Let me help you take revenge on House Wallace." A flashback shows her parents, looking sinister. Ethel thinks, "Revenge?" Rihanna looks intrigued. "Not only that, I also promise to make sure Leandro treats you well. So, please retract your divorce request." Ethel's quiet, but inside her head, it's a battlefield. Ha! The real Ethel might have accepted this proposal. Rihanna is right there though, and she's having none of it. We get a flashback montage of Rihanna's crucial role in Tara's revenge in the novel. Rihanna's got the power, the ability to make this revenge a success. Back to the present, Rihanna's grabbing Ethel's hands, her eyes wide with concern. "I already warned House Wallace to stay away from our estate." Ethel doesn't doubt that she meant it when she said she'd help her. "But Ethel, oh Ethel. However, I'm neither Tara nor the real Ethel." "Rihanna." Ethel's voice is soft as she looks straight at Rihanna. "I appreciate your offer, but I have no intention of seeking revenge. Please, if you truly understand me, help me divorce Leandro." Rihanna is floored. Why do you not want revenge?" Rihanna's desperation is palpable, grabbing Ethel's arms, shaking her slightly. "They're bad people. They deserve to be punished." Ethel slaps Rihanna's hand. She left saying, "You have to understand that people have different values." Rihanna can't believe it. "Can't you just stop now? Leandro is deeply repentant of his mistakes." She tries to reason with Ethel. "Father and Laham also said they'll be nice to you in the future." But Ethel isn't budging. I'll stop when Leandro agrees to our divorce. Rihanna's not giving up though. Do you think life after divorce is easy? You'll be gossiped about for the rest of your life. Ethel turns away hearing this. Rihanna continues. You'd better stop when I can still persuade father and lay ham for you. Keep this up and it'll be too late when you decide to return later. You'll only hurt more then. Rihanna looks so distraught. But Ethel is convinced Rihanna is just doing this for attention. Oh, so she thinks this is all an act to get more love and attention, and that this lawsuit is nothing more than a means to show my discontent. Rihanna's expression softens, but she's still determined. I know you still love Leandro. Ethel thinks to herself. No matter how hard I try, I just can't get through to her. She doesn't even see me as an equal human being. Knowing her true heart, everything's clear now. No, I don't love him. Ethel pauses. Actually, I've never loved him. Rihanna's eyes widen in shock. Ethel reflects. I did like Leandro. After all, he's the first character that I was familiar with in this strange world, who also freed me from the hellish life with House Wallace. Ethel continues to reflect. In hindsight, I only wanted a true family of my own, and that had nothing to do with love. Ethel said, it was a loveless marriage from the start. Rihanna interjects. But not all married couples love each other. That's pretty common for arranged marriages. Ethel cuts her off. I was always an outsider in House Cassius. Rihanna tries to reassure her. That's just because my father and brothers are awkward at self-expressions. I'll make sure it won't happen again. Ethel's had enough. There's no need to bother yourself. With this trial, I'll sever all my ties with House Cassius. And that includes you too, Rihanna. Rihanna is stunned. What? But even with Leandro out of the picture, we're still friends. Ethel says coldly. Like I said before, I don't like you. We're not friends. Rihanna's voice cracks. That's a lie. Ethel turns and walks away. Rihanna reaches out desperately. Wait. Ethel, please listen to me. Ethel. But Vanetta stops her. She grabs Rihanna's arm while she shouts. Ethel! Suddenly, flashbacks of Rihanna with her family flood Ethel's mind. Rihanna genuinely loved the characters of a returned Rosie's second life. Rihanna interrupts her thoughts shouting. Ethel! Rihanna is desperate. Why can't you understand? Who do you think I'm doing this for? It's all for you, Ethel! Rihanna shouts with her face being red. How the heck are you going to live in this harsh world without House Cassius? Ethel is stone-faced. Watch your mouth, Rihanna. Rihanna, realizing she's gone too far, is terrified. It was a mistake, please forgive me. Vanetta, who is still holding Rihanna's arm, seems annoyed. Rihanna said, But you're the one who first said something very harsh. Ethel asks, What did you mean when you said it was all for me? Rihanna said, It's just as you heard. I meant it would be safe and comfortable for you to remain under the protection of House Cassius. Ethel thinks to herself, That sounds like an excuse. I don't think that's what she meant. Rihanna, putting on a bright smile, says, Oh my, look at the time. I'll see you in a minute, Ethel. Rihanna leaves and Vanetta asks, Should I have stopped her, my lady? Ethel responds, No, that could be seen as using physical force and be used against us in court. Ethel thinks to herself, She didn't seem like the Rihanna I've known. Ethel thinks, Wait, the Rihanna I've known. Just how much do I actually know about her? I read the novel, which is essentially Rihanna's life story, numerous times. But does that mean I know everything about Rihanna Cassius? Ethel recalls scenes from the novel. She concludes, I simply thought everything that's happened so far was due to everyone's excessive love for her, but Rihanna's smiling face appears in Ethel's mind. What is Rihanna really like? Rihanna, walking down the hall, thinks, Phew, it was so unlike me to get worked up like that. I don't need to be nervous. She went to the room where her family was waiting. I'm back, Leandro said. Welcome back, Rihanna. Rihanna sees Leandro and others waiting for her. But Rihanna is thinking, Because I know for sure this divorce won't go through. Leandro, looking nervous, asks Rihanna, How did the talk go? Rihanna shakes her head, looking defeated. Duke reassures her. Rihanna, you don't have to care about such an ingrate. But Rihanna retorts, But it's true that what we did to her was wrong. Duke scoffs. Wrong? She's just throwing a tantrum for not getting enough attention, just like a baby. Duke Cassius sips his tea, adding, Did you really have to make a fuss, refusing to divorce, and make your sister hear unpleasant things? Rihanna defends Leandro. No, Dad. It was my idea to talk to her because I also want her to come back. Rihanna, ever optimistic, declares, Don't worry, we'll definitely win this case. She then asks, How about dining out after the trial? Duke and Lahim are silent, and Rihanna wonders, Why? What's wrong? Lohame smirks. Oh, you haven't heard it yet, little bunny. While you were with Ethel, we learned that things have gone a bit awry. Here, read this. Rihanna takes the newspaper, questioning. The paper? What? Is there something big going on? The headline reads, Look, Ambassador's daughter returns after 20 years of being missing. The wife to Lord Cassius was said to have contributed to the family reunion. Rihanna is shocked. This is, Lohame explains. She rode the Look Embassy's carriage here. Apparently, there was a big commotion outside after we came in. The newspaper quotes the ambassador's daughter. I'd been abused by my violent husband for a long time, and not a single day went by without me wishing to separate from him, but that was impossible. She continues, After all, the law wasn't on my side. I sincerely hope our society no longer sacrifices individuals in the name of household peace. Lohame is incredulous. I can't believe news like this broke out at such a critical time like now. Leandro adds, It's all well and good that the ambassador found her daughter, but why did she have to meddle in other people's family affairs? Rihanna looks down, realizing. The daughter implicitly expressed her support for Ethel's divorce. She clenches the newspaper, thinking, If we're not careful, House Cassius can be seen as the villain who oppresses the victim. Rihanna tries to reassure them all. There's really no need to worry. Some people might favor Ethel now, but there's no reason why we'll lose the case. You didn't do anything wrong other than not spending enough time with your wife, and treating her rather indifferently, right? Leandro hesitantly agrees. Why yes. Rihanna continues. Seeing that she got her maid out of our estate too, I can guess what she's up to. Lohame chimes in. Oh, don't forget how she took all the jewels with her, including that one you won at an auction, Rihanna recalls. Right, Lady DeLayson said she saw what looked like the viridescent princess when she stopped by a jewelry shop recently. Lohame is furious. What a petty woman, Lohame adds. She sold the expensive gifts from her husband to foot her legal fees for a divorce. Rihanna wonders, how did she find the ambassador's daughter? I've been looking for her too, but all I could find out was her name and the fact that she resides in the capital. How can Ethel do what I failed to do even with House Cassius' resources and connections? Just before her divorce trial too. Rihanna grits her teeth, questioning. Is this a coincidence? Or maybe, is she a regressor like I am? Lohame, noticing Rihanna's dark expression, asks, Are you alright, Bunny? You look scary. Rihanna quickly recovers. Oh, I'm fine. I was just wondering how she found the ambassador's daughter, Lohame said. You know Ethel's lawyer specializes in divorce cases, right? It seems that she happened to meet the daughter at her lawyer's office and thought she resembled the ambassador. Rihanna then asks Leandro, Leandro, has Ethel met with the ambassador before? Leandro answers, Who knows? Rihanna's eyes narrow. Is there anything you know about your wife? Leandro, startled, stutters. Ariana. Rihanna gasps. I am sorry, I've been a bit tired lately, Leandro explains. Well, she might have met the ambassador in passing when we were in the capital to attend family gatherings. She went out by herself most of the time. She thinks to herself, Yes, that's impossible. It's not like regressing is a common occurrence. Moreover, I didn't get the impression that she remembers her previous life, nor did she seem to have the goddess's blessing like me. A clock chimes, signaling. It's almost time for the trial to start. Rihanna resolves. I should focus on the case for now. Meanwhile, Ethel is preparing for the trial, looking anxious. Ha! She reassures herself. The lawyer repeats to herself. I can do this. I can do this. Ethel opens the door, and saw people out her room murmuring. Where is courtroom 2? I heard it's this way. Ethel thinks. I guess this will be Sharon's first time standing in front of such a large audience. Terrence told me that the Emperor played a hand so that those who favor House Cassius would be excluded from the list of court spectators, and the judge assigned to this case would also be one who is at odds against House Cassius. She thinks. However, I know that the Emperor didn't help me out of pure goodwill. He's only using this chance to keep House Cassius in check. Therefore, I can't expect any help more than this. More importantly, T knocks on Ethel's door. May I come in? Ethel is surprised. Oh, T explains. There's a lot of people. No one will notice even if I sneak into the crowd. Ethel questions. Didn't you say you'd be busy today? T smiles. I'm done for the day. I rushed here to attend the trial. Ethel is touched. Are you a spectator too? T confirms. Yes. Luckily, I got a seat as an audience. Ethel teases. Are you sure it was thanks to sheer luck? T laughs. This is a gift for you. He hands her a box of chocolates, saying, These are chocolates. I heard they're really hard to come by. You have a fierce battle ahead. I'm sure they'll boost your energy. Ethel happily munches on a chocolate. She offers the chocolates to her companions. Everyone, come and have some. Sharon hesitates. I'm not sure if we can eat such a delicacy, T assures. Of course you can. After a few moments, T looks around, noticing. I don't see that gentleman, Ethel replies. Oh, him. Just then, a frantic messenger rushes in, exclaiming, We have a problem. The butler was captured by House Cassius. The messenger tells about the butler calling for a doctor for Joshua, who had a panic attack the night before. Perhaps they found out where he was staying through the doctor. The moment he stepped out to head to the courthouse, he was captured. Ethel is alarmed. If we're to win, we definitely need the butler's testimony. The messenger asks, What should I do? Should I go on without him or postpone the trial? Ethel worries. I'm not even sure if I'm eligible to reschedule. If so, she tells Sharon. Sharon, can you shuffle the butler's testimony toward the end instead? Sharon readily agrees. Of course. I'll adjust the order. Ethel then asks Laura. Laura, can you make your testimony as long as possible? Laura nods enthusiastically. You can count on me, my lady, T adds. Then in the meantime, I'll bring the butler back. Ethel is concerned. Are you sure you don't mind? T said. It won't be a problem, as long as they're not keeping him inside the Cassius estate. T smirks. Jack will distract the guards. I'll sneak in and free the butler. Jack looks nervous. And me, my lord. Messenger boy encourages. Way to go, Jack, T winks. I'll come back in time so that my seat won't go to waste. With a flap of his cloak, T and Jack leave. Sharon informs Ethel. Lady Ethel, it's time for the trial. Laura nervously clutches her purse, and Ethel reassures her. Don't worry, Laura. Ethel smiles. Shall we go then? She thinks. Let's trust Terrence, and focus on my own fight. The courtroom is packed. People whisper. Are those people from House Cassius? They're all good-looking as people say. Others gossip. Did you hear? Lord Cassius' wife was hit by her own mother. I've heard. My friend witnessed the scene at the restaurant. Apparently, the husband, that man sitting over there, brought his mother-in-law to his wife that day. I feel sorry for the wife. I thought she's a very nice person based on what she did for the ambassador's family. Ethel observes. The atmosphere isn't so bad. Well, it's natural that people are drawn to newer and more interesting news. Ethel watches Rihanna, thinking. I'm sure Rihanna is racking her brain right now to figure out how I found the ambassador's daughter. Ethel smirks. Think as much as you like, Rihanna, and don't mind about your brother's divorce. The judge bangs his gavel. Order in the courtroom. The trial for divorce case G54 HFD 11 shall now commence. Let us first hear the plaintiff's case. Sharon begins. Thank you, Your Honor. 2 years ago, on April 13th, year 652 of the imperial calendar, the plaintiff and defendant solemnly vowed before goddess Mila that they would do their best for a happy marriage. However, the defendant not only consistently ignored the plaintiff's wish to spend time with him, but he also made no effort to maintain a normal marriage life on the pretext of being occupied by work. Worse yet, he even neglected the plaintiff even though he knew about the unfair treatment she'd been receiving in House Cassius. Nevertheless, far from repenting his mistakes, all he's done so far is make excuses and cause her distress and anxiety by threatening the plaintiff to have his people investigate or follow her in secret. Hence, according to the Civil Code Article 408, Paragraph 5, the plaintiff demands a divorce. Sharon concludes, the plaintiff demands a quick divorce without seeking alimony nor property division. The courtroom murmurs. The judge asks Ethel, Is that true, plaintiff? Ethel replies, Yes, Your Honor. All I want is a divorce and nothing else. Ethel thinks, There were people who believe that I'm getting a divorce for money. That's not entirely false, but I know I need to give up a small gain to get the jackpot. The alimony would be small change compared to the profits my abandoned mine would rake in the future. It's the big picture of my future. Perel, chief legal officer of House Cassius, steps forward. Your Honor, the case made by the plaintiff attorney is utterly outrageous. It is merely based on the plaintiff's misunderstandings which stemmed from different perceptions. Even if the defendant behaved as such, it was just because the circumstances were beyond his control. As soon as he was married, the defendant took over the duty of managing his family's dominion, and worked as the acting lord on behalf of his father. He could hardly take his meals properly due to the excessive workload. Nevertheless, he never stopped his efforts to take care of his family. The defendant often showers his wife, the plaintiff, expensive gifts and provides her with a large amount of monthly allowance. Not only that, but he also financially supported his in-laws who are in desperate straits. It's true that the amount of time the married couple spent together was insufficient. However, the defendant did his best to make himself available for his wife as far as circumstances permitted. It's unfortunate that, without considering her husband's circumstances, the plaintiff one-sidedly demanded the defendant to make more time for her, and even continued to ignore her in-laws and the servants of House Cassius. Ethel got shocked hearing this and thinks, "What? When did I do that?" Perel continues, as if that wasn't enough, when the defendant was so busy that he forgot their wedding anniversary, the plaintiff hurled insults at him in front of his family. Ethel thinks, "Bullcrap. When I called him a turd, we were alone on the second floor." Perel pauses, then adds, "Despite her inconsiderate behavior, the defendant still loves the plaintiff. Thus, the defendant is unable to accept this divorce under any circumstances." Leandro said, "It was my fault. However busy I was, I shouldn't have left her alone." He said with tears in her eyes, "I shall reflect on myself and try harder to be a better husband." Leandro declares, "So I see you, your honors, please stop this divorce." Ethel is furious. What in the world? Did he learn to act from Rihanna? The courtroom murmurs, "He seems to truly love his wife. How romantic." Ethel is enraged. "You say you love me, but you're making me look like a terrible woman. If that's your way of loving me, I will take none of it." Leandro is shocked. Ethel thinks, he can't say publicly that the mine is the real reason why he can't agree to this divorce, but he can't say that he doesn't want to lose the precious relationship with House Wallace either, since it's a good-for-nothing family. Ethel thinks, that's why his basis of his arguments is saying that it's all my fault, so I have no right to demand a divorce, and that since he still loves me, he can't separate from me. Ethel is furious. How dare he? The judge declares the main issue of the case is whether Leandro's behavior can be grounds for divorce. He then allows Sharon, the plaintiff attorney, to present her evidence. "I'd like to call Laura Emerson, a former maid of the Cassius estate, to the witness stand." Perel, Leandro's attorney, objects immediately. "Objection! Laura Emerson is a maid the plaintiff brought with her from House Wallace. Her testimony may be biased." Sharon counters. "Miss Emerson was hired by House Wallace only 1 month before the plaintiff's marriage. Her salary since then has been paid for by House Cassius, and she has no current ties to House Wallace." Perel has a comeback. "Miss Emerson was recently dismissed from the Cassius estate. She has reason to hold grudges." Sharon dismisses this. "That's mere speculation. The head maid who fired her admitted that it was an unfair dismissal and even apologized to her. Both parties already reached a satisfactory settlement." The judge thinks for a moment. I don't see any valid reason to reject the witness. I shall accept the plaintiff attorney's call for the witness to take the stand." Laura nervously approaches the stand, her heart pounding. Sharon begins her questioning. "You've served the plaintiff closer than anyone else for the past 2 years, haven't you? What would you say about the relationship between the defendant and plaintiff?" Laura starts to spill the tea. "Actually, there's nothing much to say, because Lord Cassius hardly came near Lady Ethel. They've used separate rooms since their newlywed days. They also ate their meals separately, except on special occasions. There were more days when they didn't see each other at all." We cut to Ethel, looking stoic, as Laura continues. "I dare say it was 2 or 3 times a week. That was during their early stage of marriage. About half a year later, it was no more than 2 to 3 times a month." Sharon asks. "One of the times you mentioned must have been for the Cassius family meeting held in the capital. Am I right?" Laura confirms. "Yes. When there was no family meeting, they didn't see each other, not even once." The audience is shocked, whispering amongst themselves. Perel tries to intervene, saying, "Objection. It's not uncommon for a married couple to not see each other very often due to certain reasons." But the judge replied, overruled. Defense attorney, refrain from speech during questioning unless you have substantial rebuttal. Sharon asked Laura, "You said they saw each other 2 or 3 times a week in their early days of marriage. Was their relationship closer then?" Laura shakes her hand, saying, "That's not the case. It only seems that way because Lady Ethel gave up on their relationship as time passed. She made numerous attempts to get close with her husband at first, but his lordship always refused to spend time together. One day I even saw her cry right outside his office." Meanwhile, Ethel thinks, "I was just yawning back then. It hurts my pride to be seen as clingy, but it can't helped." Sharon asked, "Did Lord Cassius seem really busy to you too?" Laura replied, "I can't say he seemed free, but I'm not sure that he was really as busy as he claims either. Even when he had free time in his office, he refused to see Lady Ethel. Oh, I remember his lordship suddenly went out for a walk when Lady Ethel came during tea time. Sharon declares, I have no further question for the witness. The audience murmurs in shock. How is that a married couple? Why in the world did he get married? Hearing all these murmurs, Rihanna looked concerned. Ethel thinks, as good as Leandro's public image is, Laura's testimony is causing greater shock. Perel announces, the defendant's party would like to cross-examine the witness. He approaches Laura and begins his questioning. Miss Emerson, you mentioned that Lord Cassius went out for a walk when the plaintiff appeared. When did this happen? Laura replies, it was spring, so around this time last year. Perel continues, so it was late spring. Late spring last year, the Cassius dukedom had a party to celebrate little Rihanna's birthday. You must recall said event last year. Laura looks confused. Pardon? Sharon objects. That's irrelevant to this case. Perel retorts. It isn't irrelevant. The judge bangs his gavel. Order, please. Defense attorney, what is your question? Perel repeats. Miss Emerson, do you remember little Rihanna's birthday from last year? Laura hesitates, then responds. Yes, I do. Perel asks. To my knowledge, the Cassius estate provides different special staff meals for each festival. Laura said, that's correct. Perel asked, what was the special menu on that day? Ethel wonders how Laura can remember when there are at least 2 events every month. Laura stammers. It was. Sharon interjects. What does the menu have to do with this case? Perel said, it may appear unrelated. However, as you can see, human memories can be unreliable. Sharon asks incredulously. Do you mean to say the witness's memory is faulty? Perel says. I was only considering the possibility of that. Yet the witness has just proved that she can't properly recollect another event that happened around the same time. Sharon said there's a huge difference in the gravity of the 2 events. Moreover, the Cassius Duchy has over 40 official events each year. The audience murmurs, what? 40? Unbelievable. Perel said, exactly, the 2 issues are indeed different in gravity. That is why solely relying on a former maid's testimony could lead to an erroneous conclusion. Perel continues, the witness said Lord Cassius looked free, but that's only her subjective judgment. Laura objects. No, what I said is true. Rihanna looked happy when Perel said. She also testified that the defendant refused the plaintiff's request to spend time together, even when he was free. Could that really be the truth? Perel continues. As the plaintiff's personal maid, is it even plausible for Miss Emerson to know the defendant's schedule in detail? Ethel realizes. He's a pro, all right. He made Laura's testimony seem unreliable. But we also have a lot to say when it comes to Leandro's allegedly tight schedule. Sharon presents more evidence. Your Honor, please look at the submitted evidence titled Schedule of Periodic Report. That document is about the business trips the defendant takes once or twice a month, for a week or so each time. The judge examines the document. It occurred so frequently, but I see no details about the trips. Perel clarifies. Those business trips are an important part of the defendant's work, where he reports back on the governance of the Duchy Cassius to Duke Cassius. Sharon counters. It's a maximum of 4-day round trip from Ashton to the capital even by direct train. For someone who's so busy, the defendant seems to have plenty of time to waste on the road while having none to spend with his wife. Is there any particular reason why the report has to be done in person each time? Perel explains. Reporting is not the only work he does in the capital. He also attends the Noble Council at the Imperial Palace, offers business advice to his family members, participates in a number of social events. Sharon slams her hand on the table. This is the evidence we've prepared to get a truthful answer directly from the defendant. She continues listing events. The year before last, you attended the banquet at Count Agrigento's estate with Lady Rihanna. 1 month prior to that, House Cassius hosted a party at Lake Maryland, and then you took an extended trip with only your father and 2 younger siblings. Sharon concludes. I can see why his lordship was always so busy. In order to have time to spend with your family in the capital, you had to finish all the work while you were in your own territory. Does the defendant agree with this fact? Please answer. Perel admits. Your Honor, we admit that the defendant and his family are unusually close. However, that can't be the only reason why the plaintiff and the defendant have to divorce. Perel continues. The defendant and his family requested many times that the plaintiff join them. However, the person who turned down their requests each time was none other than the plaintiff herself. Ethel looked shocked as he points his finger towards her. The trial continues, and Perel states that if a married couple has issues, The blame is almost always equal on both sides. Ethel is furious. How dare he blab like that? Sharon stands up to object. Are you accusing the plaintiff is at fault? She continues. What kind of husband sees his family so often while leaving his wife alone throughout his married life? The judges murmur amongst themselves. That definitely doesn't seem to be a common case. Perel argues. That was just because the defendant doesn't know how to act around his wife. How can a man who was single his whole life become a good husband overnight? The defendant had never been in a relationship before marriage. It was simply due to this clumsiness that made him spend more time with his family and avoid being left alone with his wife. The courtroom erupts in murmurs. Ethel can't stand it. He's glorifying Leandro as a repentant husband who realized his love for his wife belatedly. She clenches her fists. Sharon objects again. How does it make sense that the defendant shunned his wife simply because he didn't know how to treat her? Perel smoothly replies. His lordship is regretting that part too. Rihanna is watching from the gallery, and Ethel thinks to herself. He's trying to gain sympathy by milking known facts. It's a similar tactic Rihanna used when she gained public support by using her pitiful image as a commoner orphan. Her eyes narrow. I'm sure Rihanna is involved in this. Ethel realizes. The one I'm dealing with right now is neither Perel nor Leandro. It's Rihanna. Sharon asks. Then why didn't the defendant change his attitude despite his wife's repeated pleas? Perel says. He intended to change when time permits. But unfortunately, this situation happened before he could even try. The judge bangs his gavel. Order, order! We'll have a short recess. Court is adjourned. If you have witnesses to present, have them prepared in the meantime. When am I going to look through all these papers? Perel announces. Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call our witness, the head maid of the Cassius estate. He reveals the witness's name. Marianne Neuer. After that the courtroom starts emptying. Ethel, Laura, and Sharon leave the courtroom. Ethel groans. The trial will resume in 40 minutes. I think I need at least a 2-hour break, Sharon says. Still, it's a good thing that the court is adjourned even for a moment. The messenger boy came and said, Lord T hasn't returned yet. Ethel looks worried. She thinks, T. Caden, please be safe. She clasps her hands in prayer. Meanwhile, inside a carriage, the butler is trying to leave. Please, let me see His Grace. Let me explain to him in person why I suddenly disappeared. Why do you keep saying I can't? A guard says. His Grace is currently attending the young master's trial. Butler protests. That's why I'm saying I'll go to the courthouse myself. The butler thinks. While pretending to meet the Duke, I should stand as a witness. The guard says. We have orders to escort you to the townhouse. The butler asks. Who gave you that order? I've served His Grace for decades. I know His Grace better than anyone. He wouldn't just sit still when his loyal servant who went missing is found. He asks the guards. Was it Lady Rihanna? Oh, come to think of it, you were all handpicked by her ladyship. One guard confirms, His Grace's word is Lady Rihanna's word, and vice versa. The butler is shocked. To say Lady Rihanna's word is the same as His Grace's, unbelievable. One of the guards smirks. Well, will His Grace punish us if he finds out about this? The butler realizes. Then it's a lie that we're heading for the townhouse. He thinks back to a conversation with Ethel. Since you've been living as Duke Cassius's loyal servant, how about spending the rest of your life as your son's father? He recalls holding a wooden carving Ethel gave him. I truly wish to return Lady Ethel's favor for having me realize what a foolish father I'd been. Suddenly, the window of the carriage shatters. The guard exclaims, what the? A dark, bloody force attacks the guards. Aok! Inside the carriage, the guards asks, Who's there? T, with his signature red eyes, appears, smiling. Who am I? A warrior of justice, perhaps. The carriage is destroyed in an explosion. Later, T and the butler are riding on horseback. Butler asks, Are they dead? T replies, No, I didn't kill them. Things would only get messy if I did. Butler asks, How did you find me? T responds, Simply put, I marked you with my powers. Butler asks, When did you? A flashback shows T and the butler standing in front of Sharon's office a few days ago. T said, When we last came across each other. The butler asks, Did you expect this would happen? T says, Unlike my good-natured employer, I tend to suspect almost everything. The butler said, You've prepared a way to track me down in case I have a change of heart. T says, I apologize if I offended you. The butler responds, Not at all. You saved me after all. T said, Ethel has no idea about this. The butler asks, Do you think we can make it in time? T replies, We have to make the impossible possible. The butler asks, Are you all right? You're breaking in cold sweats, T says. It took me a while because I couldn't pinpoint your exact location. This is what happens after I used a lot of my energy, so you need not worry. Besides, he reveals a vial. I have the holy water given to me by the goddess of victory herself. And they ride off. The trial resumes, and it's time for the defendant's questioning. We'll begin with the defendant's questioning, the judge announces. Perel begins by calling Madame Marianne Neuer, the head maid at the Cassius estate. Madame Marianne Neuer, you are the head maid who supervises all the employees at the Cassius estate, are you not? Yes, I am, she confirms, looking a little nervous. Perel wastes no time. On behalf of the other employees, could you tell us what the married life of the defendant and the plaintiff had been like in the past 2 years? The head maid hesitates. How could I dare? But Perel insists. Please, your testimony is essential in stopping the tragic discord of a family. Ethel's already got a smirk on her face. She knows exactly where this is going. The head maid starts. Her ladyship was a nice person, but she wouldn't open her heart to us. She clutches her chest, seemingly emotional. She always refused the gifts we prepared for her. Rihanna, watching from the gallery, gives a smug little heh. The head maid continues. She didn't even attend most of the events we hosted in the house. So we just thought the gifts and events were too shabby for someone of her station. Ethel's expression hardens. Well, that's not entirely false, she thinks, flashing back to images of gifts and events clearly catering only to Rihanna, with messages like, We're always on your side, Lady Rihanna, and We love you, Lady Rihanna. It was more like a party for Rihanna's fanatics. The head maid continues. It's true that Lord Leandro was rather passive toward his wife. That's why he always felt sorry to her. Perel asked. What makes you think so? The head maid responds. You see, his lordship called me one day and privately asked me to take good care of her ladyship. Ethel rolls her eyes internally. Tisk, she's romanticizing his act of shifting his responsibility as a husband to her. The questioning continues. The young master was always buried with work. Her ladyship stayed in her room most of the time. Oh, she sometimes participates in a book club or goes out shopping. Whispers erupt in the gallery. It seems that the husband was merely working hard, and all the wife did the whole time was go shopping. That's a little unfair. Ethel and Sharon exchange a glance. Ethel thinks to herself, Thank you, head maid, for speaking exactly as I expected. Sharon steps in now. Madame Neuer, you just mentioned what the plaintiff's daily life was like. But how was it possible for the lady of a family as great as House Cassius to have plenty of free time on her hands? Actually, Lady Ethel is not in charge of the household finances and affairs, the head maid replies. How is that so? As long as Lord Cassius is the Duke's deputy, shouldn't his wife be the lady of the Cassius estate? Sharon presses. The head maid replied. This is because her ladyship isn't familiar with managing a large household. She's not from an affluent family, so I suppose her parents couldn't provide her with the necessary education. Lohane chimes in, nodding in agreement. The head maid then adds, That's why Lady Rihanna had to keep managing the estate's finances and internal affairs, as she had done for a long time. Perel then states, We confirmed what the head maid just testified with Count and Countess Wallace. Here's their written testimony. Perel reads, Lady Rihanna plans to hand over the rights she's been holding as the lady of House Cassius to the plaintiff once the plaintiff gets used to the Cassius family's way of life. The plaintiff has never been told about such plans, Sharon exclaims. Perel continues, In truth, there are multiple precedents for similar situations. When Countess Grain was ill, Count Grain's sister took over the full responsibility of managing House Grain. Sharon retorts, The plaintiff has no health issues, Perel says. The Empress Dowager also assumed her mother-in-law's duty when she was still the crown princess until the then Empress, a foreigner, became used to the imperial language. Sharon cries, The plaintiff is not a foreigner, Perel concludes. Yet, as Count and Countess Wallace admitted, the plaintiff does not have the capability to carry out such duties. Sharon shouts, There are suspicions that Count and Countess Wallace had abused the plaintiff. He slams his hand on the table, yelling, Regardless, there are countless cases where someone else assumed the role of the lady of the house due to unavoidable circumstances. The plaintiff might not have been given the rights as the lady of House Cassius, but she was certainly treated as one. He presents evidence of a large monthly allowance, luxurious gifts, and a magnificent wedding. He continues, Not only was she provided materially, the servants of the house also treated the plaintiff with sincerity. The head maid continues, We obeyed his lordship's order and did our best to lessen the loneliness her ladyship might have felt settling in a new house. The head maid, looking incredibly teary-eyed, pleads, Your ladyship, please come back. We shall strive so that we could meet your expectations. Ethel, watching the performance, asks, Then, can you do me a favor? She smiles sweetly. I'd like you to address me as my lady out loud. The head maid is taken aback. Pardon? Why? Ethel simply says, Don't ask me why. Just do me the favor. The head maid reluctantly glances at Perel before uttering, My lady? I can't hear you. Louder, please. Ethel insists, and the crowd starts murmuring. The head maid said again, My lady. Ethel says, I'm sorry, but you need to speak up a little louder. The head maid, face contorted in frustration, shouts, My lady! Suddenly a voice echoes, You can't speak about Lady Rihanna like that, my lady. It's true that the authority comes from the lady of the house. The head maid jolted as she heard her voice when she said all these things to Ethel. However, you are not that person. Sharon was holding the recording box, which continues with Ethel's voice, My husband is the Lord's deputy whose authority was bestowed by Duke Cassius himself. Moreover, the Duchess passed away a long time ago. So who else would be the lady of House Cassius other than me? The head maid shouts, Lady Rihanna is. The young master also said that Lady Rihanna should continue to be in charge of household affairs. The head maid gasps in shock. Sharon snaps the recording box shut and says, That was a conversation that the witness had with the plaintiff at the Cassius estate just 11 days ago. Sharon continues, Didn't you say you treated the plaintiff with sincerity? The head maid is horrified, realizing she's been caught in a trap. Sharon begins to analyze the recording. This recording clearly tells us a few facts. 1. The witness and the other servants, in fact, did not regard the plaintiff as the lady of the house at all. 2. Their attitude toward the plaintiff was far from respect. 3. The plaintiff clearly had no means to control the servants. And it's very likely that the defendant neglected his wife despite being privy to this. Leandro is visibly shaken. The head maid shouts, What a dirty trick! You said you'd deliver the artifact to Lady Rihanna. Perel shouts, Witness. Ethel thinks, Is she stupid? Though I always knew she hasn't got much of a brain. The head maid cries out, Lady Rihanna, it's all that woman's doing. I really had no idea she'd do this. Rihanna's eyes narrow, she's plotting something. Perel interjects, Your Honor, we need to examine the authenticity of the evidence. There's no clear proof that the recorded voice belongs to the witness. Moreover, it's only recently that recordings began to be accepted as evidence in court. Sharon cuts him off. How strange. Sharon counters, Weren't you the first attorney who submitted a recording as evidence in our empire's history? The judge said, Yes, I remember. It was for Duke Cassius versus Duke Velvet. He thinks to himself, Thanks to the eccentric inventor Rihanna obtained by luck, Duke Cassius could win the trial. Sharon continues, Back then, many people had their doubts about the recordings. However, Attorney Perel flawlessly proved its legibility as evidence. Sharon gives Perel a sweet smile. Thank you, Attorney Perel. You just saved us a fight over the recording's authenticity. Perel is seething. You, he thinks, trembling with rage. Perel is trembling, barely able to utter. You. He managed to calm down and then said, You're right. The way the witness treated the plaintiff was inexcusably insolent. Ethel thinks, He's such a quick thinker. What a swift change of heart. Perel continues, However, it was just an act of one individual. It's inconclusive to say that the entire staff treated the plaintiff in the same manner. Sharon cuts him off, Your Honor. Sharon addresses the judges. Did any of the other servants' written testimonies submitted by the defendant point out the head maid's attitude? One of the judges replies, No, there was none. Sharon holds up a small ornate object. If you listen to the recording closely, you can tell that this conversation happened in the presence of many other maids. Nevertheless, none of them mentioned said issue. Isn't it strange? The head maid gasped, saying to Rihanna, And my lady. Rihanna, looking downcast, says, I'm sorry. Ethel is shocked. Rihanna continues, It's all my fault. The head maid was actually my nanny. I never thought she'd use our close relationship and overstep. I'm sorry for the house management matter too. Duke and Lahim rushed to Rihanna's side to comfort her. She continues, I only continued doing the lady of the house's duties because I was afraid it'd put Ethel under stress. The audience got surprised, and Rihanna says, I'm sorry, Ethel. I should have been more considerate. The courtroom audience murmurs. The judge bangs his gavel, shouting, Order! Order, please! If you interrupt the trial one more time, you'll have to leave this courtroom, no matter how distinguished your family is. Tears streaming down her face, Rihanna nods. Ethel is visibly concerned. Her presence was overwhelming enough to have everyone focused on her, be it in a good way or a bad way. That's the influence of a novel's heroine who can affect a trial even as an audience. Suddenly, the head maid throws herself on the ground before Ethel, crying, "Your ladyship! Please forgive me, your ladyship! I've forgotten my place and behaved arrogantly." Slamming her head on the ground repeatedly, she begs, "I'm sorry! I'm really sorry! I'm sorry!" Two guards rush to pull her away. Leandro and Perel watch in disbelief as the audience whispers, "Poor woman! I feel sorry for her. It seems like she's sincerely sorry." Perel steps forward, addressing the court. "Ladies and gentlemen, as the young master of House Cassius, my client wishes to apologize on Madame Nayer's behalf." Leandro bows his head. "I deeply apologize for causing trouble. Ethel, I hadn't the faintest idea that you were suffering such humiliation. Nevertheless, I'd like you to give me another chance. I shall fire the head maid immediately. If you wish so, I shall dismiss all the other servants as well. I swear upon my name, if I break my word, I shall forfeit the Cassius name as well as my position as the heir to House Cassius." The judge asks, "Do you truly mean that, my lord?" "An oath made in public is legally binding," Leandro replies firmly. "It doesn't matter because I shall keep my word by any means." Ethel thinks, "If I say no in this situation, I'll definitely look like the bad person." She smirks slightly. Sharon objects, "Your Honor! The defendant failed to know what was happening under his own roof. The promise he just made can hardly." Perel interjects, "We don't deny that the defendant made mistakes. However, as human beings, we all make mistakes in life. Please allow the defendant another chance." The judge turns to Ethel. "Plaintiff, if you have something to say to the defendant, you may speak now." Ethel sits lost in thought. "Is Terence on his way here? Will he be able to make it at all? Let's trust him. He'll definitely bring the butler here. After all, he said so." Ethel makes a decision. "Leandro, my mind remains unchanged. I want a divorce." Leandro looks devastated, whispering, "Ethel." Ethel shakes her head, stating, "I no longer have trust in you. It has been irreversibly broken. If you refuse to let me go in the name of love, that's violence. If you truly love me, you should let me go and wish for my happiness." Leandro is stunned. There's a knock at the door. Sharon is surprised. Sharon announces, "Your Honor, I'd like to call for a new witness." The door opens, and butler Caden enters. Sharon announces, "We call Mr. Caden Marimo to the stand." Caden walks forward. The Duke cries out, "Caden, how could you?" Caden stands at the witness stand. "My name is Caden Marimo, and I stand here as a witness. For the past 2 decades or so, I've been employed as a butler to the Cassius estate." The judge asks, "You say you were the butler of House Cassius, and yet are you truly testifying for the plaintiff?" Duke roars, "Caden, how dare you?" Rihanna pleads, "Dad, please calm down." The judge shouts, "Duke Edmund Cassius and Lady Rihanna Cassius, I order you both to leave. Exit this courtroom immediately." Rihanna cries, "Dad, please," Luhaim says. "Father, you need to step outside. I think you got too carried away." Luhaim leads Duke and Rihanna out of the courtroom, escorted by guards. Luhaim sighs. The judge says, "Please proceed." Perel shouts, "Wait. Your Honor, Mr. Marimo disappeared a few days ago. It's possible that he had been kidnapped by House Cassius adversaries. His current state is possibly inappropriate to testify." Sharon interrupts. "Does the witness look unstable to you, Your Honor?" Caden states, "I was not kidnapped. I voluntarily left House Cassius." Leandro, utterly shocked, staggers backward. "Butler, WHY?" Sharon asks the butler to describe the marriage between the defendant and the plaintiff. Butler Marimo states, "Her ladyship." No, Lady Ethel looked unhappy. Everyone in the Cassius estate, with the exception of Laura Emerson, treated her like a guest who would only stay temporarily. The servants' attitude toward her was completely different from how they treated the late Duchess. His lordship is also aware of the situation. After all, I brought up the issue to him time and time again. The scene shifts to a flashback of the butler talking to Leandro, who replies, "Just leave the matter to me. I'll handle it." Perel, unimpressed, declares, "Your Honor, this is redundant information. My client has admitted his mistakes and promised to fire all the servants involved." Sharon said, "Pardon me, there's one more significant reason for divorce we have yet to disclose. That's what Mr. Marimo is here to testify about. She then glanced at Leandro. Then she emphasizes the importance of Marimo's testimony, stating, Your Honor, what Mr. Marimo is about to testify could damage someone's reputation, so I request we continue as a closed trial. Judge asks, A closed trial? Perel scoffs, What a pathetically obvious trick. He objects, I object. Your Honor, closing an ongoing trial would only arouse unsavory suspicions, Sharon retorts. Are you certain you wouldn't mind? As I said, someone's honor is at stake, Perel confidently states. The ducal house of Cassius have nothing to fear. Sharon asked, Will you truly not regret it? The judge dismisses the request, stating, The plaintiff attorney's argument alone isn't enough to prompt the closure of this trial. The request for a closed trial is dismissed. Ethel steels herself, because the plaintiff herself will speak about her experience regarding the issue. With a deep breath, Ethel begins, My husband, Leandro Cassius, has a serious impediment in regard to his ability of producing an heir. Silence fills the courtroom as everyone gasps. Lehane is in shock, the judge exclaims. An issue with producing an heir. Ethel continues, My husband has avoided sleeping with me. He and I have never shared marital relations. I tried my best, but tears stream down her face as she sobs. Perel jumps up yelling, That's outrageous slander. Defamation against the heir to a ducal family is punishable by. Leandro looks devastated by the revelation. The narration explains, Born as the heir to a great family, Leandro lost his mother when he was young. Naturally, he strived not to be taken lightly and kept all his personal matters to himself all his life. And so, he'd never have confided any of his marital issues to someone else, because the last thing he wants would be for such news to reach Riena's ears. Back in the courtroom, Sharon continues, The plaintiff's account can be confirmed by the two witnesses, Miss Emerson and Mr. Marimo, who were in charge of the plaintiff's and the defendant's chambers, respectively. Hence, I'd like to ask the two witnesses further questions regarding this issue. Would you please come forward first, Miss Emerson? Laura takes the stand, declaring, I worked for Lady Ethel for 2 years, but I've never seen her and her husband sleep in the same room, not even on their first night. A flashback shows Leandro on his wedding night, thinking, I'm sorry, I just can't do this. The next night, and the night after that too, gossip spreads through the courtroom. Was the rumor true then? What rumor? There once was wind about Lord Cassius having that problem. Don't you remember? Two ladies whisper. Oh, I remember. He's incapable of that sort of thing, right? The butler adds. Even after the wedding, his lordship continued to use the bedroom that he'd been using since he was young, instead of sharing a new chamber with his wife. And he told me that he just couldn't stand living as Lady Ethel's husband. He also said that he didn't feel a drop of love for Lady Ethel because he didn't see her as a woman. Sharon asks Leandro, Defendant, you've been consistently arguing that you love the plaintiff since this trial began. I love her, but I don't see her as a woman, and that's why I've never shared a bed with her. Does this make sense to you? Perel bursts out. Your Honor, it's only two individuals' opinions. Sharon counters, and the two individuals watched the plaintiff and the defendant more closely than anyone else. Mr. Marimo served House Cassius for several decades as their butler. Sharon challenges. What benefits would Mr. Marimo get if he sided with the plaintiff? Money? Slamming her papers, Sharon declares. As we all know, my client is not demanding any alimony. Ethel thinks. That's right, I'm an empty pocket. That's why I owe Terence a great deal. Sharon continues. Reputation? No family would welcome a servant who once betrayed his master. Mr. Marimo gave up not only his decade-long loyalty, but also his future to speak the truth. Sharon concludes, So I see you not to distort his sincerity, Attorney Phillips. Suddenly, a woman in the audience jumps up, shouting, That's a lie! Don't pretend that you're penniless! I know you sold all the gifts you received from Lord Leandro and hired that lawyer with the money. How dare you disgrace him with such absurd slanders? I saw the ring she sold at a jeweler's. The judge sighs. Ha, this trial is such a... The woman continues. Lord Leandro is innocent. Ethel grabs her purse and went to Leandro. She gave a box asking, Is this the ring that lady just mentioned? She thinks, When he gifted me with a ring called the Viridescent Princess, he bought Rihanna a necklace called the Viridescent King. Isn't it obvious which one would be higher in value? Ethel opens the box, revealing the ring. Ethel said, This is the only jewelry you gifted me, and I brought it with me when I left. The woman who accused Ethel exclaims, That can't be true. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. Guards take the women out. Ethel thinks, "This is exactly why I sold it, and then bought it again." She recalled saying to T, "I'm going to throw the ring to his face and say, 'Take this and don't show your face in front of me again.'" T adds, "I'd sure like to see the scene." The people in the courtroom whisper, "I believe that's the same ring Lord Cassius bought for his wife. I saw it at the auction. But the woman from a moment ago told a different story. Then she probably lied, like the head maid." My goodness! Again? It seems like everyone's lying for the ducal family. I never expected that they'd be like this. How disappointing. Finally, Ethel confronts Leandro. "I don't want to keep any of the things you've given me. The only gift you can give me is divorce."